Chapter 1543. When Lu Ping broke the altar and caused the spatial barrier on both sides to collapse, the Tenma people saw that Lu Ping was temporarily hiding from the two true demons. Therefore, at that moment, the Tenma people believed that Lu Ping's strength was only on par with his. But he didn't know that before this, Lu Ping was able to counterattack and completely knock one of them down to the true demon realm when he was facing a sneak attack from three true demons. When the Tenma people broke through the sword light wall set up by Lu Ping and rushed in to reap the benefits, they didn't know that Lu Ping had already carefully set up a trap for them. Not long after the Tenma people broke into the barrier formed by Lu Ping's sword light, the true demon that was in a stalemate with the human cultivator in the broken array space suddenly erupted and began to attack the human cultivator's defense in a mutually destructive manner. The human cultivator had no choice but to temporarily retreat, but unexpectedly, the true demon actually abandoned him and rushed toward the battle where Lu Ping was. The human cultivator was stunned. Obviously, the situation at this time was beyond his expectations. However, he understood that the situation of the five true demons besieging Lu Ping and the Tenma people must be extremely bad. Once the two of them couldn't resist, he would be the one to suffer. Thinking of this true spirit cultivator had no choice but to rush toward the light wall formed by Lu Ping's sword of true spirit in an attempt to share the pressure of the two of them. Unexpectedly, just when this person was about to crash into the battle, he suddenly abruptly canceled the escape light under his feet in midair. He almost lost his footing. Then, a look of doubt flashed across this person's face, followed by a moment of hesitation. Then, as if he had made up his mind, he suddenly turned around and looked at the huge altar standing in the array space where he was originally at. Although the Tenma people's mistake made Lu Ping angry, it didn't surprise him. The Tenma people wanted to scheme against him, so why wouldn't he want to completely eliminate this potential threat? Despite being besieged by the four true demons, the moment Lu Ping set up the sword light barrier, a 9th-rank white jade lotus bloomed under his feet. The spirit patterns on each petal echoed with each other. In the blink of an eye, a complete white jade lotus array was formed, blocking the attacks of the four true demons in one fell swoop. The white jade lotus array, after more than 500 years of cultivation by Lu Ping, had become a pure yang spiritual treasure that had survived the Third Thunder Tribulation. As Lu Ping's natal spiritual treasure, the white jade lotus array was not only the defensive treasure in Lu Ping's hands, but also the foundation of Lu Ping's natal gentian array. At the moment when he blocked the four true demons, Lu Ping didn't even need to spend energy to cast the gentian array. He only needed to use the sword of true spirit to set up a sword array to trap the battle, making it impossible for outsiders to peep at the battle between Lu Ping and the true demons. At the same time, he directly slashed a true demon that attacked recklessly, causing it to be seriously injured. Without any worries, Lu Ping calmly set up the gentian array. If the Tenma people still had the overall situation in mind, Lu Ping's move was like using a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. If the Tenma people had bad intentions, they couldn't blame Lu Ping for being ruthless. In fact, Lu Ping had clearly overestimated the Heavenly Horse Clan Master. As soon as Lu Ping laid down the Yuan Chen Grand Array, the sword light barrier Lu Ping laid down on the periphery was instantly destroyed. The Heavenly Horse Clan Master howled and offered to help Lu Ping, but the Heavenly Horse Clan Master didn't hesitate to throw the spirit treasure in his hand at Lu Ping. However, in the Tenma people's horrified eyes, the scene where both sides were injured was different from what he had expected. 12 five-colored lights soared into the sky, and the original sword light barrier was instantly replaced by an array space formed by the light rays emitted by the 12 five-colored lights. At this point, the Tenma people still didn't know that he had fallen into Lu Ping's trap. Even the true demons in front of him had turned from 4 to 3. Clearly, in such a short period of time, not only was Lu Ping safe and sound after being surrounded by 4 true demons, but he even killed one of them. The Tenma people opened his mouth and wanted to roar, but unexpectedly, the array closed completely isolating him. The Tenma people turned around in shock and tried to break the gentian array to escape. The North Sea Lu Ping's natal gentian array was famous in the cultivation world. Lu Ping had used it to trap and kill several cultivators of the same level, shocking the entire cultivation world. It was also at that time that most cultivators realized that the North Sea water sword immortal was not a pure sword cultivator. For the sake of caution, Lu Ping still killed the true demon before the Tima people could. At this time, the intervention of the Tima people no longer surprised Lu Ping. The only thing that slightly worried Lu Ping was the true spirit cultivator on the other side of the space. Fortunately, this person did not disappoint Lu Ping. At least he knew that he had to focus on the overall situation at this time and did not want to take advantage of the situation. But even so, the true demon that was locked in a stalemate with the Heavenly Horse Clan Master suddenly abandoned its opponent and rushed towards him. This caught Lu Ping by surprise, and he almost allowed the true demon and the Heavenly Horse Clan Master to work together to break through the Yuan Chan Grand Array. Fortunately, Lu Ping had a backup plan. He used the invisible sword technique to force the Tenma people to retreat in time. He even took advantage of the true demon's rash intrusion to stab it. However, Lu Ping immediately realized that someone should be secretly targeting him, and the only person who could make the channel array change to target him was probably the person behind the scenes who had deceived all the true spirits in this world since the beginning of the world. Although Lu Ping was doing his best to control the Genshin array to trap and kill the 4 true demons, his divine sense filled the 3 array spaces that had been opened, and he was constantly paying attention to everything around him. Seeing that the human cultivator hesitated for a moment and was about to step forward to help, Lu Ping hurriedly sent a voice transmission to stop him. This was because at this moment, Lu Ping saw the altar behind him flickering with a faint white light. This light couldn't be more familiar to Lu Ping. In the process of besieging the underground demon caves controlled by the Yuan family, this light was the scene of Mara being born or teleported over. Lu Ping was attacked by the true demon twice in a row. When he saw the flickering light on the altar, he immediately had a bad feeling in his heart. He hurriedly persuaded the human cultivator to break the towering altar. Fortunately, this person was quite insightful. After listening to Lu Ping's explanation, he obviously thought of something. He turned around and used a divine ability to disperse the jumping light on the altar. Then, he used another divine ability to smash the top of the altar. When the third divine ability was used, the entire altar completely collapsed. When the altar was destroyed, the array barrier on the other side of the array space immediately collapsed, revealing another array space adjacent to this array space. However, other than the towering altar, there were no other cultivators or true demons in this array space. Just as a doubtful expression flashed across his face, his gaze was fixed on the broken objects floating below the altar. Then, his expression changed and he couldn't help but exclaim, "Isn't this fellow cultivator Yao's life spirit treasure, the Naming Scarlet Flame Flag? If the life spirit treasure is broken, then fellow cultivator Yao, this true spirit cultivator surnamed Yao, was the human clan true spirit cultivator who had been sheltering under the Longhuai ancestors' myriad poison sky wall ever since he became a true spirit." It was clear that this spell formation space had also experienced a battle with a true devil. Judging from the shattered spirit treasure of the cultivator surnamed Yao, it was likely that the battle had ended in disaster. It was unknown whether it was 1 or 2 true devils that had fought him, but at that moment, there was no trace of them. It was likely that they had left through the sacrificial altar. The cultivator immediately understood that Lu Ping had instructed him to destroy the altar not only to isolate other true demons that might be teleported through the altar, but also to open up a passage to other array spaces and meet up with the cultivators trapped in other array spaces. The cultivator was about to destroy the altar in front of him with his spiritual treasure, but unexpectedly, the altar in front of him and the altar in the array space where the Tenma people were previously flashed with teleportation light at the same time. The cultivator was stunned. The cultivator was taken aback. With his current strength, he could only destroy one of them at most, and he couldn't care about the other one. Not to mention that once he destroyed one of them, it would immediately open another neighboring formation space. The situation there was still unknown. If it was like the space he was in right now, it would be fine, but if he encountered another formation space that was in chaos, wouldn't the situation be even more chaotic? But if he didn't destroy the altar, the 2 altars before him would at least send 2 true demons. With his strength, at most, restraining 1 true demon was already the most he could do. 2 true demons were enough to kill him. The cultivator's heart hardened. If he encountered 2 true demons, he would undoubtedly die, so he might as well break one altar and try his luck. At least he could hope that the cultivator in the adjacent array space could help him. After a series of landslides, the altar in front of the cultivator was destroyed. The teleportation light on the altar disappeared, and the adjacent array barrier collapsed, revealing an empty array space. The cultivator was overjoyed. He could no longer care about the broken spirit treasures, clothes, and even broken corpses floating in the adjacent array space. At least at this time, he only needed to deal with the true demons teleported from one altar. This luck was really good. However, before the cultivator's joy could linger on his face for long, the faint light on the altar that originally trapped the Tenma people gradually dissipated. 2 loud and clear howls instantly made the cultivator's heart turn to ashes. 2 true demons had actually teleported over. The cultivator looked at the North Sea Water Sword Immortal and the Tenma people who were being besieged by the 4 true demons. Although he didn't know what was going on in the battle, he knew that he couldn't even deal with one true demon. Even if the other 2 were stronger than him, how much stronger could they be? As for the 2 true demons, they didn't even spare the cultivators a glance. The moment they teleported over, they pounced towards the battle between Lu Ping and the Heavenly Horse Clan head. The cultivator knew very well what would happen if the 2 true demons joined the battle. Once the North Sea Water Sword Immortal and the Tenma people died, with his strength inferior to theirs, he would definitely die a more miserable death. Either way was death, so he had to fight. The cultivator gritted his teeth and turned into a giant tortoise true spirit to block in front of the 2 true demons. He hoped that he could delay for a while and turn the situation around. Otherwise, everyone would die together. He didn't expect that even after gathering 18 true spirit cultivators to break through the passage array at the same time, he still ended up in this state. He didn't know how the others were doing at this time. With his last thought, the cultivator pounced towards the 2 true demons. However, he suddenly heard a loud sound beside him. The tyrannical space trembled, and even through the cultivator's true spirit body that was pouncing towards the 2 true demons away. Then, the cultivator's eyes were covered by a sky full of multicolored light. A gentle force suddenly surged from the other side. The cultivator's body that was thrown away was slowly caught by this force, and he wasn't injured by the tyrannical force that had just erupted. The moment the cultivator was thrown away, he also heard the fearful wails of the 2 true demons that had just appeared. After losing the restriction of the Genshin Great Formation, the boiling heaven sword art instantly erupted with an earth-shattering might. The unparalleled sword, she carried a tyrannical explosive force and heavily injured the 2 true demons that had come knocking on his door. A young and handsome cultivator with a faint smile on his face appeared in front of him. Who else could it be other than the youngest true spirit cultivator, the North Sea Water Sword Immortal, Lu Taiping? Thank you, Lu Daoyu, for saving me. Lu Ping waved his hand and smiled. Actually, it was fellow Daoist me who helped me. The true spirit cultivator with the surname laughed. The moment Lu Ping exploded, he already knew the difference in strength between the 2 of them. Naturally, he knew that his previous estimation was wrong, but fortunately, he did not have any other thoughts, so it could be considered that the other party owed him a favor. The cultivator with the surname blinked and looked left and right before saying, "May I ask Lu Daoyu, that Tenma people right now?" Tenma people. Lu Ping's smiling face gradually calmed down. It was so calm that the cultivator with the surname felt pressured. The Tenma people and I joined forces to fight the true demons, but in the end, we perished together with a true demon. However, I was lucky to survive. Lu Ping's gaze was indifferent as he recounted the clan leader's fate. Then, he looked at the cultivator named me with a hint of regret and regret. For some reason, the cultivator with the surname felt his hair stand on end from Lu Ping's deep gaze. He could not help but say, "It's a pity that the Tenma people are righteous. Yes, it's a pity." Chapter 1544. Lu Ping was able to annihilate 4 true demons with the natal origin time array formation. Not to mention, there was also the Pegasus clan master's joint attack. So how could the remaining 2 true demons pose a threat to him? However, Lu Ping still had to conceal his true strength. At the same time, the human true spirit cultivator, Mi Xuanzi, also attacked with all his might. The two true demons that were already heavily injured by Lu Ping's sky-boiling sword art didn't last long before they died in the hands of the two. However, no more true demons were teleported over from the remaining two altars. Mi Xuanzi heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Fortunately, Lu Dagyu took the opportunity to heavily injure the two true demons, and no more true demons were teleported over from these two altars. Otherwise, this battle would have been really dangerous." Lu Ping smiled. He naturally knew how much strength he had left. It was obviously not because they were lucky that the two altars did not teleport any true demons over. Lu Ping was more willing to believe that the mastermind hiding in the tunnel formation had determined that it was meaningless to send more true demons to besiege him after he killed 8 true demons in a row. "What do you plan to do next, Lu Daoyu?" After witnessing Lu Ping's powerful strength, Mi Xuanzi had already made up his mind to follow the North Sea Water Sword Immortal. Mi Xuanzi had a clear understanding of his own abilities. In such an unknown situation where danger lurked everywhere, relying on a powerful person was undoubtedly the greatest hope of survival. At least, with the favor of helping the Water Sword Immortal fend off the true demon. As long as the Water Sword Immortal lent a helping hand to the best of her abilities, he might be able to avoid a disaster. As for what happened in the battle that was sealed by the Sword Light Barrier and how the Tenma people's leader died, Mi Xuanzi did not know and did not want to know. Moreover, so what if the Tenma people's leader died in a strange way? Would anyone seek justice for the Tenma people's leader at such a critical moment? Lu Ping could more or less guess the true spirit cultivator's thoughts. However, before the mastermind was revealed, Lu Ping naturally did not mind having more allies. This should be a ring-shaped array space. After every true spirit cultivator enters the passage formation, they will randomly enter one of the spaces, and those true demons will use the altar to travel back and forth between these array spaces to support each other. Lu Ping told Mi Xuanzi about what he vaguely saw on the ice wall before he entered the passageway formation, as well as the speculations he gained after breaking through a few formation spaces in a row. Earlier, Fellow Mi destroyed 2 altars and opened up 2 formation spaces. From the traces left behind in them, it's obvious that 2 fellow Taoists have died in the hands of the true demons. Those true demons must have left through the altars after killing the 2 fellow Taoists. Perhaps the 2 true demons that came to attack me and the Tenma people through the altars came from these 2 formation spaces. Mi Xuanzi already understood Lu Ping's thoughts. Then, shall we continue to destroy the altars and break the formation barriers so that we can meet up with more Taoists? Lu Ping did not mind Mi Xuanzi addressing him as we. He nodded. That's right. However, there's no need to rush too much. Let's break the formation spaces and meet up with the other Taoists. With our combined strength, we can easily deal with a spatial barrier as long as there aren't more than 3 true demons that appear. Lu Ping paused. Of course, it'll be best if we meet other Taoists, but it's safer to eliminate these true demons. Mi Xuanzi naturally had no objections. He only said, "I'll leave it to Lu Daoyu to decide." Lu Ping did not argue any further. He nodded at Mi Xuanzi and pushed the altar behind Mi Xuanzi. Under Mi Xuanzi's shocked gaze, the huge altar collapsed soundlessly. The huge stones it was made of turned to dust. However, before the dust could fly, an invisible cloud of water vapor filled the air above the altar, suppressing all the dust. The spatial barrier collapsed, and the sounds of battle rang out from the other side of the formation space. Lu Ping and Mi Xuanzi looked at each other before summoning their spirit treasures and charging inside. A huge green serpent swam around in the space, fighting evenly with the 2 true demons. Lu Ping charged in and was stunned to see the green serpent's true spirit. For a moment, he could not tell who this green serpent was. The green serpent was overjoyed when it saw Lu Ping. Lu Daoyu came at the right time. Lend the old man a hand. As it spoke, Lu Ping's pure young flying sword slashed at one of the true demons. At the same time, he exclaimed in surprise, "It's Senior Chu?" The green serpent laughed loudly. "It's the old man." From Lu Ping's senses, Chu Fanyun's strength was similar to that of the Rainbow Tiger Clan's leader and the old ape. Although he had reached the late stage of the true spirit realm, he was still quite a distance away from the perfected stage. However, the green serpent's strength was that of the genuine perfected stage of the true spirit realm. How could Lu Ping not be puzzled? Although he was puzzled, Lu Ping did not slow down at all. With Mi Xuance's help, the three of them quickly killed the two true demons. In the meantime, one of the true demons tried to escape toward the sacrificial altar. Seeing that Chu Fanyun was certain that the true demon had nowhere to run, Lu Ping did not take it to heart. He knew that Chu Fanyun still did not know about the sacrificial altar's function, so he hurriedly chased after the true demon and killed it with his sword. Seeing that Chu Fanyun was puzzled, Lu Ping told him about his previous guess. Chu Fanyun's expression was solemn as he said, "Based on this, Lu Daoyou's guess should be correct. This means that at least 3 fellow Taoists have fallen to the true demon's attacks?" Without waiting for Lu Ping's reply, Mi Xuanze answered for Lu Ping. "That's right. The Tima people's leader, fellow Yao Xian, and fellow Gao Lingfeng of the Lingyun Valley have all fallen. Among them, I only found fragments of useful soul treasures and some tattered, bloodied clothes in 2 of the formation spaces. I did not see their corpses." Chu Fanyun nodded and sighed. Mara is bloodthirsty. The corpses of those 2 fellow Taoists have probably been devoured by the true demons. Since that's the case, let's do as Lu Daoyu suggested. We'll break through the formation barriers one by one and exterminate these true demons while rescuing the other fellow Taoists. With that, Chu Fanyun, who had transformed into his human form, pulled out a green leather pouch from behind him. Lu Ping's gaze suddenly froze as he looked at the green leather pouch. Feeling the elegant yet biting cold aura from the pouch, Lu Ping could not help but ask, "Senior, could this be?" Chu Fanyun patted the green leather pouch in his hand and nodded. "This is one of the 3 molted skins that Zhao Daoren left for me, the green sea snakes. It is precisely because of these 3 molted skins that I, the green sea snakes, can completely use the skins of 3 pure yang cultivators to become 3 true spirit cultivators. Therefore, the green sea snakes do not need to maintain the true spirit inheritance in a small kiliacosm like the sacred land of the human race." This time, the old man brought one out from the tribe. From now on, the green sea snakes will only have 2 treasures left. However, the pure yang cultivators are still unable to fully utilize the effects of these 3 molted skins. Only the true spirit cultivators will be able to display their true power. Lu Ping nodded and thought to himself, "It seems that the green sea snakes do not have the cultivation realm after inheriting the true spirit inheritance. Chu Fanyun himself does not know that when his cultivation increases after putting on the skin, he will be able to reach the perfect first true spirit realm." Chu Fanyun put away the green leather pouch and was about to destroy the altar in front of him. However, a loud noise came from the side of the formation space where the Tinma people were previously at. The 3 of them were taken aback and immediately fled in that direction. They saw that the formation barrier there had already been broken, and a few rays of light rushed in through the gap. A few large-scale magical abilities and spells then bombarded the surroundings indiscriminately. However, they quickly realized that there was no one else here. They gathered together to protect each other, not daring to be careless. Suddenly, they heard a pleasantly surprised voice. "Is it Senior Long Huai?" This junior is Lu Ping. Chapter 1545. "Oh, it's Lu Xiaoyu." The Longhuai ancestor smiled upon hearing that. The true spirit adepts beside him who were initially on guard relaxed and began to look at the formation space that had been opened up. Lu Daoyu and the others are really capable. They actually broke through 6 formation spaces in one go. Impressive. Chi Fan Laozu exclaimed in shock as he looked at the space that had been broken through in front of him. It was not just Chi Fan Laozu. Even the heavily injured Tiger tribe leader and Guangyuan Laozu had expressions of disbelief on their faces. On the other hand, it was impossible to see the expression of the butterfly fairy from the insect tribe who had covered her face with a light veil. It was as if she did not care about the strength that Lu Ping and the others had revealed. Lu Ping shook his head with a rather ashamed expression and said, "I'm ashamed to say this. This isn't entirely due to the 3 of us. If it weren't for the Tenma people sacrificing their lives to delay the siege of the two true demons, fellow me and I would probably have died under the siege of the true demons. In the end, we wouldn't have met with Senior Chu Fanyan. On the other hand, after two of the formation spaces had been broken through, only the shattered natal spirit treasures of fellow Yao Xian and fellow Gao Lingfeng were left behind. It seems that the two of you have already died. The Tenma people and Lu Taiping had a feud of killing his son. Would the Tenma people risk their lives to stop the siege of the true demons for him? Everyone could not help but look at each other when they heard that. If anyone believed Lu Ping's words, it would really be the biggest joke in the world. However, what Lu Ping said was true, and Mi Xuanzi had also spoken up to prove it. At this time, everyone was in an unknown danger, so naturally, no one would argue with Lu Ping on this matter. Even the Tiger tribe leader, who was very close to the Tenma people, only snorted coldly and said no more. Guang Yuan Laozu sighed and said, "The Tenma people, fellow Yao Xian, and fellow Gao, 3 true spirit adepts have died in one go. If it weren't for Senior Longhuai ancestors' help, we most likely wouldn't have been able to escape the siege of the true demons. Even so, in the 6 formation spaces that we opened up, fellow Linghu of the Skyward Pavilion was killed by the true demons. Fellow Tiger and I were also heavily injured by the true demons. As the top existences in this world, they could be said to be invincible in the eyes of the living beings in this world. They were worshipped and revered by everyone. However, in this strange passage formation, 4 of them had died so easily in such a short period of time. For a moment, they could not help but sigh. Since the opening of the sky until now, who knows how many true spirit adepts have entered this passage formation and never been heard from again. Among them, there were many who were as powerful as us, and even more talented than us. If they couldn't succeed, what's the price we paid? If fellow Guangyuan can't even see through this, in my opinion, Your Excellency should just return to Wuxing School and spend the rest of your life. At least you can still enjoy the incense offerings of your ancestors for a few hundred years. The Tiger tribe leader's continuous rebuttals did not make Guangyuan Laozu feel embarrassed. On the contrary, Guangyuan Laozu laughed and said, "It's the old man's sentimentality that has destroyed everyone's morale. Fellow Tiger is right. It's the old man who is being unreasonable. Since we've stepped into this passage formation, there's no turning back. We'll either live or die." After saying that, Guangyuan Laozu actually bowed to the Tiger tribe leader. The Tiger tribe leader accepted it calmly and slightly bowed back. Lu Ping could feel the strong will to die from the duo. The path array formation was filled with unfathomable dangers. Clearly, the mastermind had left behind more than just this. With the duo's current state, they might even lose their lives in the upcoming crisis. At this time, it was unrealistic for the two to walk through the passage formation to pursue the road to immortality. What supported them to go on was to see the person behind the scene who set up this sky-opening scam. As long as they persisted in living, they would be one step closer to the mystery of this scam. Even if they had to die, they wanted to know the truth. Lu Xiaoyu must have cultivated the first realm of the true spirit realm to perfection now. You must have condensed your natal water? Patriarch Long Huai asked with a smile on his face. However, his tone was filled with certainty. Based on the scenes during the process of opening up the formation spaces, the number of true demons within each formation space should be similar to the strength of the cultivators that entered the space. To be able to deal with 2 true demons with his own strength, his cultivation must at least have reached the late stage of the first realm of the true spirit realm. If Lu Ping and the other 2 were able to pass through the formation space and kill all the true demons inside, then his cultivation should at least be in the first realm of the true spirit realm to perfection. Thinking of this, Patriarch Long Huai glanced at Chu Fanyan thoughtfully, thinking that if Chu Fanyan had brought one of the Emerald Sea Spirit Serpent Clan's supreme treasures with him, he would have been able to raise his cultivation base to perfection of the first realm. However, this was not his own strength after all, so it was still debatable whether he would be able to fully control his skyrocketing cultivation base. Presumably, facing 2 true demons, he would only be able to suppress them at best. Being seen through by Longhuai ancestor, Lu Ping was not surprised or panicked. Although he did not reveal his cultivation, he knew that once he made a move, it would inevitably be seen through by Longhua ancestor and others who knew the cultivation realm after reaching the true spirit realm. In fact, he did not deliberately hide his cultivation realm. If it was said that Longhua ancestor was only suspicious before, now he was certain. Lu Ping smiled faintly. How could I dare to compare with you, senior? When you were born 500 years ago, you had already cultivated the wood realm to perfection. In the Battle of Mount Shang, you ignored the heavenly punishment realm. Now that 500 years have passed, senior's cultivation must have improved. I am merely following in senior's footsteps. I am still far from it. Mi Xuanzi, Guangyuan Laozu, and Qi Fan Laozu clearly did not know about the cultivation path after reaching the true spirit realm. When they heard the conversation between Longhua ancestor and Lu Ping, they were confused. The Tiger Clan leader and Chu Fanyun, on the other hand, looked uncertain. They clearly knew about this, but not in detail. On the other hand, after hearing Longhua ancestor's words, the butterfly fairy's body moved slightly and she looked in Lu Ping's direction. Clearly, she was also someone who knew. The moment the butterfly fairy turned around, Lu Ping sensed an obscure aura wrap around his body. With a thought from Lu Ping, the obscure aura was immediately dispersed. The front of the butterfly fairy's clothes fluttered even though there was no wind. Then, silence returned. Lu Ping was slightly surprised. Through the brief exchange just now, he could clearly sense from the obscure aura that this butterfly fairy was also someone who had cultivated the first true spirit realm to perfection. Lu Ping could not help but take a few more glances at the butterfly fairy. Although he could not see the mysterious butterfly fairy's face clearly, Lu Ping could still sense that the butterfly fairy had been observing him. Although the exchange of divine thoughts between Lu Ping and the butterfly fairy was obscure, it did not escape the perception of the Longhua ancestor. However, the Longhua ancestor did not point it out. Obviously, he wanted to find out the true foundation of the two through the exchange, so he smiled and said, "The old man only has this cultivation because he has received the legacy of the predecessors. He has lived a little longer and accumulated a little more, but he cannot be compared to Lu Xiaoyu. It has only been a little over 200 years since you became a true spirit. Surpassing the old man is just around the corner." The butterfly fairy obviously also saw the intention of the Longhua ancestor. The confrontation between the two suddenly stopped. Lu Ping said modestly, "Senior is overpraising me. This junior wants to go further, but there is no way. If I cannot break through this channel array, I will not be able to find a way to further my cultivation in the infinite starry sky before my lifespan ends. Everything I have done now will be in vain." Lu Xiaoyu is right. We will work together to break through the remaining array space. I hope that more fellow Taoists can persist under the siege of the true demons. After Lu Ping and the others met with the Longhua ancestor, they exchanged greetings. In fact, they were taking a break after the continuous battle with the true demons, taking the opportunity to restore the consumed qi in their bodies. Perhaps this channel array was really because this world was connected to the infinite starry sky. The energy inside was extremely rich, and it was different from the heaven and earth energy in this world. This starry sky energy was more suitable for these true spirit cultivators to absorb and cultivate. After taking a breather, Lu Ping and the Longhua ancestor and the other 8 true spirit cultivators continued to destroy the altar and the adjacent array space, searching for the surviving true spirit cultivators. When everyone found Xiang Laozu and the wise old ape, the two of them had just joined hands to kill the 3 true demons. Xiang Laozu was safe and sound, but the wise old ape's strength was weaker by a level, and he had suffered heavy injuries. Only then did everyone know that the Peacock King had fallen under the siege of the true demons. Lu Ping looked at Xiang Laozu. This Bagui Laozu had also cultivated the first true spirit realm to the great perfection realm. Perhaps it was because the Timma people had died in his hands, but the Ba Gue race and the Peacock royalty had always been at odds. Lu Ping had always felt that the fall of the Peacock King was inseparable from this Xiang Laozu. When everyone joined hands to break through the last barrier of the array, they were surprised to find that Xiao Baiyu and Green Sword Laozu, the 2 old enemies, were actually working together to resist the combined attacks of the 5 suppressing demons. Almost everyone in this world knew about the grudge between Skyrind and the Purple Sun Palace. After several generations of accumulated grudges, the cultivators of the two sects would always fight to the death when they met. At this time, everyone saw that in the moment of life and death, the two sects Laozu had actually chosen to join hands to fight against the enemy. How could this not cause everyone to be surprised and sigh, to the point that they even forgot to help out? Only when Green Sword Laozu cursed anxiously did everyone come to their senses and completely kill the 5 true demons. The moment they entered the passage array from the ice wall, the 18 true spirit cultivators were teleported into a different array space. Then, a true demon with the strength of a true spirit cultivator came to kill them through the altar. After killing all the true demons and breaking the 18 array spaces and altars, only 12 of the 18 true spirit cultivators that had entered the passage array remained. The origin wine Laozu of the Crystal Palace had also fallen under the siege of the true demons. Only now did everyone realize that these 18 arrays were actually a huge ring-shaped space that was separated by an array barrier. Now that the array barrier had been broken, all that was left was a semicircular array barrier that was surrounded by the array space. Through the barrier, Lu Ping could see the deep starry sky and the countless twinkling stars. Chapter 1546. This is the world of the infinite starry sky? Seventh Fan Laozu's face was filled with infatuation as he murmured, "It's so beautiful." The old man seems to feel that the path to immortality is within reach. The old man, on the other hand, is perturbed and even a little afraid. Old Ape Ling Ming did not mind the surprised gazes of the crowd and continued, "The fear of the unknown. Since the creation of the heavens, who has the slightest knowledge of the infinite starry sky?" The seventh patriarch might know of the infinite starry sky, but how many of you still dare to believe them? What will we encounter after leaving this world? It might be a further step on the path to immortality, or it might be a place even more desolate than the world we live in. Everyone was silent. Some wanted to refute, but when they opened their mouths, they did not know what to say. The infinite starry sky was passed down by word of mouth among the true top cultivators in the cultivation world, but no one knew what was waiting for them in the starry sky. Since the creation of the heavens, no one had been able to bring any news from outside this world. Lu Ping coughed slightly and said softly, "At least we can still seek the path to immortality after leaving this world. If we continue to be trapped in this world, we won't even have the possibility of immortality." If there was anyone in the cultivation world who might have some understanding of the infinite starry sky, Lu Ping, who had obtained the complete Soaring Dragon Galaxy technique, was one of them. The Longhuai ancestor might also be one of them. Others might also have a chance, but compared to the Longhuai ancestor, even if the others had some words about the inheritance of the heavens, they would not be of much help. Old Ape Ling Ming laughed awkwardly and said, "Lu Xiaoyo's words are reasonable, but the old man's words are inappropriate. Since we're already here, we can only advance and not retreat. Saying these words will only disturb the morale of the army." Xiang Laozu suddenly laughed and said, "Since the infinite starry sky is right in front of us, we just need to shatter this barrier. The ring formation formed by the 18 formation spaces is enough to kill any true spirit cultivator that enters the formation. If not for the 18 of us rushing in together, as well as the powerful fellow cultivators like Longhuai Ancestor and Lu Daoyu, it would not be easy to break through this formation. From the looks of it, these 18 ring formations might be the key to sealing the passage, and perhaps behind this barrier is the infinite starry sky that we have dreamed of." Xiang Laozu's words caused many of the true spirit cultivators' expressions to change, but in the end, no one took the initiative to test the giant circular barrier. Xiang Laozu gave an embarrassed smile and did not say anything else. Xiang Laozu's words were more or less instigating, but all the cultivators present were experienced and astute people. Under the unclear situation, naturally no one would take the initiative to stand out. The circular barrier seemed transparent, allowing people to see the endless starry sky, but it isolated the cultivator's divine sense. No one knew if there was an endless starry sky, or if there was still some secret hidden behind the barrier. Lu Ping's eyes were once again dyed with a purple-gold hue. However, he wasn't thinking about what was behind the barrier. Instead, He was observing the array formation's depth. Although the three pure true pupils were said to be able to see through all illusions when cultivated to the extreme, the true three pure true pupils were only a legend in this world. At most, it was extremely difficult to refine 3 meridians into 1 meridian. However, because of the Blood Eagle's secret technique, Lu Ping's 3 pure true pupils had undergone a mutation after fusing with his bloodline. It was unknown how many times stronger it was than a single meridian. Even if this formation was personally set up by the 7th Patriarch, Lu Ping could still see some clues. It's not that easy. At this time, the Longhuai ancestor sighed and said, "The old man, fellow Xiang, fellow butterfly, and Lu Daoyu." The 4 of them were able to cultivate the first true spirit realm to the perfection stage. There are many outstanding people who have reached the true spirit realm since the beginning of the world. How can it be said that there are no people among them who have a deep opportunity to push their cultivation to the realm of the old man and the others? If there are, it's not impossible for them to break through these 18 formation spaces. The fact that the Longhuai ancestor pointed out the 4 people with the highest cultivation obviously made Lu Ping and the others unhappy. A flash of anger appeared on Xiang Laozu's face, and his eyes flashed with fear and resentment. The butterfly fairy's face moved without any wind. Although her expression could not be seen clearly, it was obvious that she would not have a good expression after being exposed in front of everyone. On the other hand, Lu Ping's cultivation had been exposed by the Longhuai ancestor before, so he was the calmest and even faintly gloated. Other than the 4 cultivators who had cultivated the first true spirit realm to the perfection stage, the other true spirit cultivators' faces did not look good either. Some of them did not even know the cultivation paths and realms after reaching the true spirit realm. Originally, they thought that there might be a difference in strength between them, but their cultivations were roughly on the same starting line. Now that they suddenly heard that someone was already a step ahead of them in the true spirit level, their faces were naturally as ugly as could be, especially for someone as arrogant as Xiao Baiyu. After a long time, Xiang Laozu laughed dryly and said, "So you're saying that there's still an unknown danger behind this formation barrier?" The Longhuai ancestor did not comment, but said, "But if we don't open this defensive formation, we don't seem to have any other way out. Then why are we in a hurry to open this formation barrier?" Lu Ping's sudden words caused all the cultivators present to be stunned, and for a moment, they did not understand what Lu Ping meant. If we don't open this barrier, could it be that we still want to leave this passage formation? Xiao Baiyu's expression was very ugly, and there was a hint of anger in his words. Forget about the Longhuai ancestor, that Xiang Laozu of the Bagui clan has lived long enough. The butterfly fairy is mysterious and is a woman. But why is this Lu Taiping able to suppress me in terms of cultivation? Back then, he was just a junior that he had helped along. But now he had grown to a point where he could only look up to him. How could the arrogant Xiao Baiyu take this blow? Although Lu Ping did not know what Xiao Baiyu was thinking, he knew that Xiao Baiyu had already misunderstood his meaning, so he smiled and said, "Naturally I won't retreat, and even if I want to retreat at this time, I might not be able to." Hearing Lu Ping's words, everyone's faces turned ugly. If they retreated at this time, who could withstand the overwhelming heavenly punishment? Perhaps even the Longhuai ancestor, who was able to escape from the Central Plains to the East Sea, did not have the ability to do so. What's more, this passage formation was clearly a one-way transmission array. After they broke through the passage formation, they had tried to find a way to enter the passage formation, but they found that it had already been sealed by a spatial array. Even if the remaining 12 true spirit cultivator worked together, they would not be able to break it. Compared to the space formation that had entered the passageway, the 18 ring-shaped formation spaces that everyone had destroyed earlier were clearly much weaker. If the passageway formation itself had been created by the 7th ancestor, then the methods of the 18 ring-shaped formation spaces were much more inferior. However, the question in the hearts of the remaining true spirit cultivator was, were these 18 ring-shaped array spaces really created by the 7th Patriarch? Lu Ping did not care what everyone was thinking and continued to laugh. What this junior means is, after everyone enters this passage formation, don't you feel that this place is filled with dense origin energy and is an extremely good place for us true spirit cultivator to cultivate? Xiao Baiyu seemed to have made up his mind to go against Lu Ping, and said coldly, "At this time, we will officially take advantage of the victory to break through the passage formation. How can we still have the leisure to meditate and cultivate?" Then how much true essence does Senior Xiao have left in his body? Xiao Baiyu squinted his eyes. There seemed to be sword chi flashing in his eyes, he said. The true essence in the old man's body is enough to deal with the upcoming battle. Lu Ping cupped his hands and said, "Senior's strength is admirable, but what about the others? What about the other injured seniors?" Among the remaining 12 true spirit cultivators, only 7 of them could be said to be completely unharmed. The remaining 5 were more or less injured, and among them, the Guangyuan ancestor and the Tiger clan leader were the most severely injured. The 2 of them even had the will to die, and the reason why they had held on until now was because they wanted to see the most important mastermind behind the scenes, and they didn't want to become muddle-headed ghosts. Chapter 1547. If we can help you recover from your injuries, our battle strength will naturally increase. Aren't you afraid that the culprit hiding in the passage formation will also have a chance to set up a trap for us? Xiao Baiyu still said in a stiff tone. Lu Ping did not mind and said in a serious tone, "Senior, have you ever thought about why there are a total of 18 formations in this passage? Is this a coincidence?" Before Xiao Baiyu could speak, Lao Zu asked, "Lu Dayu means that the culprit controlling this passage formation already knows about us and has already set up a trap for us? And even if we know it's a trap, what can we do? Don't we still have to jump in?" Lu Ping did not directly answer Lao Zu's question. Instead, he turned to Longhuai Ancestor and asked, "What does Senior think?" Longhuai Ancestor said, "Now it seems that when the 7th Patriarch went to the North Sea to seize a treasure, there was most likely an internal conflict. It's just that we don't know who or which Lao Zu was the one who obtained the treasure in the end. It seems that the Lao Zu who obtained the treasure in the end did not have it easy. Otherwise, after the sky was opened, the 7 Lao Zu would have appeared." Guangyuan Lao Zu said in a strange tone, "Then why didn't the 7 Lao Zu perish together?" As soon as he finished speaking, Guangyuan Lao Zu knew he had asked a stupid question. If the 7th Patriarch had all perished, the passage formation would not have specially set up a trap for them. However, from the way the heaven-splitting ancestor had cast down the formation, he must have been greatly weakened. Otherwise, how could cultivators in the first true spirit realm like them, who were only at the first true spirit realm, shake the formation he cast down? Longhuai Ancestor then said, "But no matter who benefited from the 7th Patriarch's internal conflict, there is one thing the old man can be sure of. It is definitely not Zhao Daoren, and Zhao Daoren must have been destroyed in the internal conflict." Longhuai Ancestor's body was originally a backup plan left by Zhao Daoren. If Zhao Daoren had a bit of true spirit, the dragon pagoda tree in the secret land would not have formed its own consciousness and become the current Longhuai Ancestor. Hearing this, Xiang Laozu's expression changed, and he tentatively asked, "Senior, who do you think is most likely?" Longhuai Ancestor glanced at Xiang Laozu, but Xiang Laozu inadvertently looked away. Longhuai Ancestor did not care. He pondered for a moment and said, "In the old man's opinion, only Peng Daoren and Taoist Gue are the most likely." "Gue Laozu?" Xiang Laozu looked quite displeased when he heard this. "How is that possible? Among the 7th Patriarch of Kai Tian, my ancestor Ba Gue is the most law-abiding. He has never participated in the grievances between the other 6 patriarchs. He even hid overseas and opened up a medium-sized cultivation world in the South Sea. He usually spends most of his time cultivating himself. Even when he gives lectures, he is urged by his followers again and again. With such a temperament of not stirring up trouble, if there really is an internal strife, I'm afraid that the other 6 Laozu patriarchs would have already schemed against him. How could he set up such a shocking scam in the passage formation?" Longhuai Ancestor asked with a smile. "Why are you so excited, fellow Taoist Xiang? Could it be that you know something?" Xiang Laozu was stunned and said, "Know what? The old man just doesn't want my ancestor to be the suspect in your words." Longhuai Ancestor laughed and said, "The old man is just guessing. If fellow Taoist doesn't believe me, you can choose not to listen. Why do you have to do this?" Xiang Laozu looked unhappy. He snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Longhuai ancestor continued, there are two reasons why the old man suspects Taoist Gui. Firstly, it has been more than 30,000 years since Kai Tian was created. Among the seventh patriarch, if there is someone who has the longest lifespan and is most likely to have lived for more than 30,000 years without losing his intelligence, then Taoist Gui is naturally the most likely person. Xiang Laozu sneered and said, if the old man doesn't remember wrongly, fellow Taoist Long Huai once said that he was originally a backup left behind by Jiao Daoren. In that case, didn't he also live since Kai Tian was created? Long Huai ancestor said with a serious expression, what fellow Taoist said is correct. However, although the old man's original body has lived since Kai Tian was created, the old man first gained intelligence more than 10,000 years after Kai Tian was created. He received the inheritance left behind by Jiao Daoren and learned to cultivate only 8 or 9,000 years ago. Xiang Laozu laughed and said, 8 or 9,000 years. Even if fellow Taoists said that he only learned to cultivate 3,000 years ago, no one here can doubt you. What's the second reason? A clear and beautiful voice suddenly sounded, not only interrupting Xiang Laozu's ridicule, but also causing all the true spirit cultivators present to look at the source of the voice in surprise. The butterfly fairy, who had been silent since they met up in the North Ice Field, suddenly opened her mouth and asked Longhuai ancestor at this time. Although Xiang Laozu was angry in his heart, he didn't show it on his face. Instead, he remained expressionless and didn't speak. But his flickering eyes showed that this tyrannical turtle Laozu must be thinking about something unknown at this time. The second reason is naturally the case of Jiao Daoren being poisoned. Longhuai ancestor glanced at Xiang Laozu in surprise. He didn't know why he didn't refute this time, but he still said, there are many opinions about this case in the cultivation world, each with their own reasons and speculations. Chapter 1548. The rich star sea origin energy seeped into the channel formation. The true spirit cultivators discussed their speculations as they greedily absorbed the origin energy around them. After refining it, they used it to repair their injuries and replenish the true essence they lost in the battle. Among them, Lu Ping, who was circulating the soaring dragon galaxy art with all his might, was the one who caused the most commotion when he refined the Yuan Qi. At this time, Lu Ping had already condensed his life source true water. Each of the 9 life dragon scales on the true spirit dragon's abdomen had condensed a supreme ability, allowing him to cultivate the first true spirit realm to perfection. However, Lu Ping's true spirit didn't only have the 9 natal scales on his abdomen lit up. 7 of the 9 natal scales on his true spirit's neck were also lit up. This meant that Lu Ping had not only cultivated his water origin to perfection, but he had also cultivated his true spirit origin of gold, wood, fire, earth, wind, and ice. Not only that, but he had also condensed at least one peerless technique in each of the 6 true spirit origin of gold, wood, fire, earth, wind, and ice. At the same time, the 8th scale of the 9 scales was dyed a faint purple gold. There was even lightning flashing from time to time, as if it was about to light up. Lu Ping had used the 7 treasure thunder gourd to collect a few drops of thunder origin power from the real 7 treasure thunder gourd and the Yuan clan's heir. He was trying to awaken his own thunder origin power. However, it was different from opening the 7 sources through the Samling 5-element leaf source spirit pill. It was clearly much more difficult to open the lightning source. As for the source energy below the neck that had not been lit up, the 9 scales were the opposite of the 9 life source water scales in the middle of the abdomen. They were on the back of the dragon true spirit. This row of scales represented the last threshold of the true spirit realm and was also the most difficult bottleneck to break through, the opening of the source of chaos. In fact, after obtaining the complete, soaring dragon galaxy scripture, Lu Ping had already decided on his future path of cultivation. When the world's origin energy was insufficient and he couldn't focus on his cultivation, Lu Ping could only choose to cultivate simultaneously. He would open up as many origin energies as possible in order to absorb and refine the world's origin energy as efficiently as possible. This was all because Lu Ping had the Samling 5-element leaf and enough true spirit alchemy to refine it into a leaf source spirit pill. Otherwise, if it was anyone else in this world, they wouldn't be able to walk the same path as Lu Ping, not even the Longhuai ancestor. After Lu Ping chose this path of cultivation, he used the power of the entire sect and Lu Ping's foresight to cultivate after reaching the true spirit realm. By stealing the life source feathers of the Peacock royalty members, hunting down the remnants of the Yuan family, and interrogating the underground altar hidden in this world, he collected thin origin energy for Lu Ping's cultivation. At the same time, after Lu Ping started cultivating the other 6 origin energies, Jinling's sect once again began searching for the peerless techniques in the cultivation world under Lu Ping's leadership. Lu Ping was the one who had awakened the other 6 origin energies at the same time. Ever since Jinling embarked on the path of rise, Jinling's accumulation continued to grow, and it collected more and more spells and spells. However, for Lu Ping to open up the 7 sources, excluding the water source that he had cultivated to perfection, he would need at least 54 supreme spells. This was a huge number. What's more, Lu Ping naturally sought perfection in the selection of his own origin spirit techniques. Although the spirit techniques he carefully selected to cultivate the origin might not be the strongest, at least each one was the most suitable for him. As a result, 54 different types of supreme spirit techniques were not a simple collection of supreme spirit techniques. They had to be selected from more of the same type of supreme spirit techniques, which made it even more difficult to achieve. In fact, among the supreme spirit techniques Lu Ping had collected so far, he had only selected about 30 or so that were suitable for him, among which he had cultivated and condensed a spirit technique seed on the origin scale of the true spirit body, only a dozen or so of them. While everyone was exchanging their speculations and using the rich starry sky essence chi to heal their injuries and replenish the true essence within their bodies, Lu Ping, with the support of a steady stream of starry sky essence chi, condensed a supreme spirit technique seed on the 4th scale of the true spirit bodies would origin in one fell swoop. It was the fallen petals perfusion art that Lu Ping had long envied. Without a spiritual treasure that matched this spirit technique, Lu Ping naturally couldn't be like Jiang Tianlin and Lao Zhu, who could reduce the lifespan of a cultivator of the same realm by 108 years in one fell swoop. However, this kind of tyrannical and strange spirit technique was often a trump card in a life and death battle. After taking the opportunity to completely engrave a spirit technique seed, among the other 5 origins, the metal origin spirit technique was currently cultivating its 3rd spirit technique. The fire origin had only just begun cultivating its 2nd spirit technique. The earth origin's cultivation speed was only a little faster than the fire origin's cultivation speed, and it was only one step away from successfully condensing its 2nd spirit technique seed. The wind origin, like the metal origin, had started to condense its 3rd spirit technique, but it still lagged behind the ice origin. Lu Ping had already condensed the ice origin's 3rd supreme spirit technique. With a total of 13 supreme spirit technique seeds condensed on the scales of the true spirit body, plus the 9 and 8 supreme spirit technique seeds, Lu Ping's true spirit body now had a terrifying total of 22 different origin supreme spirit techniques. Lu Ping was confident that among the many cultivators present, his cultivation and strength were at least in the top 3. The reason why Lu Ping proposed to take a break before breaking the array formation shield in front of him was to use the rich starry sky essence chi to help his cultivation cross several thresholds. At this time, Lu Ping heard Longhuai ancestor talking about the puppet secret technique. Immediately, his heart moved and he asked, "Dare I ask, Senior, is there any connection between the puppet secret technique and the external incarnation secret technique?" All the cultivators present knew that Lu Ping had an extremely tyrannical external incarnation in his hands. However, they didn't know that the secret technique Lu Ping used to refine this external incarnation secret technique came from Longhuai ancestor. Longhuai ancestor seemed to know Lu Ping's doubts and shook his head with a smile. It's not the same. The Starry Sky world has the demon race and the Azura race. Both are large and famous races in the infinite starry sky. However, the 2 races rarely have any connection with each other. However, the demon race and the Azura race have a lot in common. That is, The two races' incarnations use the origin essence chi as their foundation. Moreover, the two races are fierce and aggressive. Moreover, they are bloodthirsty. Once their ferocious nature erupts, not even a blade of grass will grow in their path. To outsiders, this ominous land is an ominous land, but to the demon and Luo clans, it's a good place to gather their origin and nurture their descendants. Longhuai ancestor continued, in the old man's opinion, the Mara disaster in the cultivation world should be the handiwork of Peng Daoren. I don't know where Peng Daoren obtained some secrets about the demon race and the Azura race, so he tried to use the puppet secret technique he mastered to create the Mara race. However, it is obvious that these Mara race are not the real demon race and the Azura race. Even though the real demon race and Azura race are brutal and murderous, they aren't unreasonable. Conversely, even though they have unreasonable dispositions, they know right from wrong. And they aren't like the Mara race of this world that destroys for the sake of destroying without reason. Thus, the so-called Mara race is only a tool that Peng Daoren created by combining the demon race and Azura race with the puppet secret technique, and it's only a tool to achieve his objective. Ridiculing smile flashed on the corners of Xiang Laozu's mouth as he said, "Oh, in this way, fellow Taoist Long Huai is more and more certain that the mastermind behind the scenes of this world ought to be Peng Daoren. Then what's Peng Daoren's objective in creating the Mara disaster? Does fellow Taoist have any guesses?" The Longhuai ancestor said indifferently, "This old man doesn't know as well. However, behind this protective formation before us is perhaps the location where all the secrets since the world was split open until now are buried. At the same time, it might be the final barrier to leave this world and enter the boundless starry sky. Perhaps fellow Taoist Xiang should personally destroy it and take a look." Xiang Laozu revealed a hesitant expression as he said with embarrassment, "This old man is anxious to know, but I don't know what sort of danger is concealed behind this protective formation. Perhaps this old man is unable to resist it by himself, so it's better for all of you to make a move together. In this way, once something unexpected happens, all of us can join forces to resist it." Earlier, when everyone saw the Longhuai ancestor provoke Xiang Laozu with words, they were just prepared to watch on as Xiang Laozu was unable to put down his pride and take the lead to attack the protective formation. However, they never expected that this person would be so straightforward and directly admit defeat. And he'd made up his mind to attack together with all of them. Seeing everyone stand up in succession, Lu Ping sighed in his heart. What a pity. Lu Ping was just a little bit away from being able to condense the second divine ability seed on the second true spirit scale of the quintessence of the earth. At the same time that his cultivation advanced, the total number of true spirit abilities Lu Ping possessed would reach 23. It was not difficult for the 12 true spirit cultivators to attack at the same time, but it was clear that no one would use their full strength to attack the protective array at the beginning, not to mention that this protective array that seemed to have existed since the opening of the sky and blocked the passage to the starry sky world outside was not easy to break. Even if the 12 of them worked together, they were already prepared to attack continuously. However, the development of events often exceeded everyone's expectations. The moment everyone's spells landed on the seemingly extremely sturdy barrier, the earth quaked and the mountains swayed before it was broken. It was actually broken just like that. Lu Ping and the rest were stunned for a moment. There was even a short moment where their reactions were too late for the flick of a finger. 7 figures shot out from the collapsed protective array like streams of light. They treated the aftermath of the 12 true spirit cultivators' joint attack as if it was nothing and forcefully charged out. Taking advantage of everyone's moment of shock, they had already taken the initiative to attack the 12 of them. Guangyuan Laozu and the Tiger Clan leader, the 2 true spirit cultivators who were already injured, only had time to let out 2 short screams before Lu Ping could no longer sense their auras. Following that, there was a cry of alarm, as if Green Sword Laozu was already injured. Lu Ping shook the true spirit sword in his hand and was about to attack when he heard Laozu exclaim, "Impossible! Who are you?" Longhuai ancestor's heavy voice came out from the chaotic battle. "Be careful. It's the remains of the 7th patriarch." Chapter 1549. The Remains of the Seventh Patriarch. If Longhuai ancestor's solemn voice shocked everyone, then Xiang Laozu's exclamation seemed to be trying to support his guess. However, why is it a remains? Since it is a remains, who can command it? Could it be that there is someone other than the seventh patriarch secretly controlling it? How much of the seventh patriarch's strength can this remains retain? A series of questions suddenly jumped in Lu Ping's mind. Lu Ping, who was about to help Laozu, suddenly felt his heart skip a beat. The pure yang flying sword slowed down a little, and then a huge white jade lotus suddenly bloomed under his feet. A layer of crystal light curtains scattered on Lu Ping's body and then disappeared. He had to ensure his own safety before anything else. At this moment, the inescapable net that Xiao Baiyu formed with the infinite flying swords not far away was smashed by an even larger and denser sword light. Xiao Baiyu barely managed to fly up and down with the flying swords to protect his body from harm, but he had been completely blown away and slammed heavily into the space barrier of the passage array thousands of meters away. Lu Ping was shocked. He had a deep understanding of how strong Xiao Baiyu's swordsmanship attainments were. To be able to defeat Xiao Baiyu without any suspense with swordsmanship, could it be? A strong, murderous aura rushed over. Lu Ping did not even have time to capture the opponent's position. A sharp sword chi had already torn through the void and came directly at Lu Ping's eyebrows. Before the sharp sword chi reached his body, he already felt a faint stinging pain at his eyebrows. This swordsmanship divine power was fast and powerful. It made Lu Ping feel unprepared. In a hurry, the true spirit sword directly exploded a purple-gold lightning sword chi from the sword body, cutting a winding path in the void. At the same time, countless lightning sword chi dissipated into the void and disappeared. By sacrificing part of the power of the swordsmanship divine power, Lu Ping used the thunderclap sword art to control Emoli and finally caught up with the sword that chased after the wind and moon. Clang, a crisp sound rang out. As the lightning on Emoli's sword body exploded, the lightning scattered in all directions, as if forming a purple-gold lightning net. The surrounding void immediately began to crack along with the scattering lightning. Then, with a burst of strange sounds, the void began to shatter, revealing a black curtain that flickered with a few faint lights in the distance. A stream of aura that was not as pure as the starry sky essence chi in the passage, but it was more vigorous and heavy than the starry sky essence chi in the passage. Then, this gap was immediately covered by the spatial barrier that was restored under the fluctuations of the array formation. Was the infinite starry sky behind the array barrier? Although it was only for a moment, Lu Ping still determined that the deep place behind the broken void was where the infinite starry sky was. However, this thought only flashed in Lu Ping's mind. At this time, Lu Ping did not have the time to care about this. Although the sword chi was hit by the pure yang flying sword with the thunderclap sword art, it was not completely annihilated. The power of the remaining sword chi was still amazing, but this time, Lu Ping did not have time to use other means. He could only desperately pour his chi into the white jade lotus flower under his feet. The originally crystal-clear lotus light curtain appeared again, and the remaining power of the sword chi crashed into the light curtain, but it was worn down by layers of binding. When the remaining power dissipated, it was only 3 inches away from Lu Ping's eyebrows. Cold sweat dripped down along his temples, and a white jade petal slowly floated down in front of his eyes. The white jade lotus flower under his feet suddenly became dark and gloomy. This attack had clearly damaged the white jade lotus flower. Even if Lu Ping's chi was vigorous and his foundation was solid, under this attack, his internal organs were shaken, and his chi was scattered for a moment. What a terrifying sword technique! Was this just the power of the ancestor of sword cultivation, Zhao Daoren? Fortunately, this attack seemed to be a premeditated attack by the hidden opponent against Lu Ping for a long time. For the hidden person, it was also a huge consumption. He did not expect Lu Ping to be able to take this attack unscathed, so he did not use any follow-up means at the moment. However, this also made Lu Ping secretly relieved. Obviously, although the opponent's strength was tyrannical, it was not tyrannical to the extent of Sky Splitter 7th Patriarch. Otherwise, if it was really Zhao Daoren, The previous attack would be enough to turn Lu Ping into ashes. Sure enough, after a series of explosions, Longhuai ancestors' intermittent voice came from the depths of the broken formation space. These remains have been made into puppets, but at most, only have the cultivation of the first realm of true spirit, circle, perfection. Everyone, don't panic. While Lu Ping was circulating his cultivation method with all his might, the qi in his body gradually began to circulate. The grade 9 white jade lotus under his feet began to regain its luster due to the continuous nourishment of qi. At the same time, he spread out his divine telekinesis in an instant, trying to capture the traces of the person who attacked him just now. After the formation shield that reflected the infinite starry sky was shattered by everyone, countless void fragments scattered in the passage space where they were. The 7 remains that rushed out of the formation shield hid in the infinite void fragments, attacking suddenly or waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Chapter 1550. The huge whirlpool of sword light collided with the sword net. Countless sword lights collided with each other, broke, and perished. Within the area covered by the 2 great divine abilities, sharp sword cries rose and fell one after another. It could even be used to directly wear out a cultivator's divine sense. The surrounding void was constantly breaking, mending, breaking, and mending again. In the area that was originally protected by the barrier, the space was also shattered and mended with the aftermath of the battle. However, it was different from the barrier that everyone had come from. The space here was filled with specks of starlight in the boundless starry sky. As the space shattered and mended, the starlight constantly flashed and disappeared, flashed again, and disappeared again. The flickering starlight seemed to have boundless magic, constantly attracting the true spirit cultivators who were fighting. There seemed to be a voice constantly telling them, "Shatter it, charge out." As long as you shatter this space barrier that doesn't seem too sturdy, the vast starry sky will appear in front of you. The shackles of this world will finally be broken, and the path to immortality will come. The huge whirlpool of sword lights instantly collapsed from top to bottom because of the sword lights. Just as the Sea of 100 Rivers was about to be broken, a great sense of danger suddenly made Lu Ping's heart skip a beat. Cold sweat instantly soaked the back of his shirt. The dragon true spirit in the core space roared, and its heart fiercely beat twice. The muffled sound even caused the surrounding space to tremble. The boundless bloodline and vigorous true essence swept through his limbs under the powerful beating of his heart, and the sound of surging waves could be faintly heard from Lu Ping's body. The sword of true spirit released a purplish-gold sword light in the air. The sword light vortex, which was collapsing under the encirclement of the sword net, was replenished by the countless sword lights and once again recovered. It even tore the sword net into pieces. However, countless sword lights that were condensed into threads also swam over from the void, weaving and mending the broken sword net again. The sword techniques and divine abilities of both sides competed with each other, and they fell into a stalemate for a while. At this time, another earth-shattering roar came from afar. The space barrier that reflected the endless starry sky shattered once again. The numerous stars flickered with a cold light. It was a soul-stirring scene. A purple and gold light suddenly shot out from Lu Ping's eyes, and the light extended over 3 meters before slowly disappearing into the void. The light suddenly disappeared, and Lu Ping, who did not know if he had seen something, suddenly closed his eyes tightly. It was as if he had overused his ability. 2 streams of tears flowed down his cheeks, and his eyelids twitched violently. At the same time, Lu Ping's divine sense was like a flood that had opened the floodgates, instantly filling the void in all directions. At this moment, his divine sense finally accurately captured the existence of his opponent. Suddenly, Lu Ping formed a series of hand seals with both hands, like a dazzling butterfly fluttering through the flowers. However, the yuan qi created by each of the hand seals was like a tidal wave crashing onto the beach. The void around Lu Ping began to tremble strangely as his hands moved. Vast sea mulberry field art. When Lu Ping's hands finished forming seals, This was the only non-sword technique out of the 9 supreme innate abilities condensed by Lu Ping in the first true spirit realm. It instantly displayed its terrifying might. Wherever the ability passed, the void would compress and even time seemed to slow down. Lu Ping took a step forward and even ignored the 2 sword techniques in front of him stirring the void. He directly arrived at the opponent that Lu Ping's divine sense had captured. A black figure suddenly appeared in the void, trying to escape in front of Lu Ping. However, it was restricted by the surrounding void, so it couldn't help slowing down for a moment. Lu Ping's full-strength innate ability could only slow his opponent for a moment. However, this was already enough. It was unknown when the true spirit sword had appeared in Lu Ping's hand, and the boiling heaven sword art appeared under the feet of the puppet Zhao Daoren. Surging sword glows appeared under his feet and instantly swallowed him. What an interesting little fellow. A voice made the intelligent Lu Ping feel like he was struck by lightning. Who was speaking in my ear? Could it be the puppet in front of him? Could it be that he was not a puppet and was the real Zhao Daoren? Lu Ping's face did not have any expression of his calculations succeeding. Rather, his face was filled with fear. He was not afraid of the figure being swallowed by the sword glows, but not being killed by the boiling heaven sword art. Rather, he was afraid of the voice that suddenly sounded in his ear with a trace of pleasant surprise. This pleasant surprise gave Lu Ping a very clear feeling. It was like a toy suddenly leaving its master's imagination, but it was still a toy in the end, unable to escape its master's control. At most, it was just adding a trace of fun to its master's play. Who was the one making that sound? Lu Ping's eyes finally opened again, and he quickly looked around. Other than the true spirit cultivators fighting, there was no one else here. Who was the person hiding behind the scenes? A thought flashed in his mind, and the fruitless Lu Ping had to put all his attention back on the puppet Zhao Daoren in front of him. The killing trap Lu Ping had been easily broken by him, and the technique this person used in that instant made Lu Ping very surprised. The sea deceiving art, it was very similar to the sea deceiving art. Could the puppet in front of him really be Zhao Daoren's real body? In that instant, Lu Ping's thoughts turned thousands of times. But the technique in his hand did not slow down at all in this life and death situation. In fact, even if Lu Ping was facing a puppet that could only use various techniques at the first true spirit realm, he never thought he could kill it with a supreme sword technique. Although the puppet managed to escape from the sky-split sword art's strangulation by a hair's breadth, a lotus formation had already bloomed beneath its feet as it executed the sword art, instantly sealing the surrounding space. Regardless of whether he was the puppet of the person behind the scenes or not, the current Lu Ping had no choice but to fight with his life on the line. The 12 gentian beads were scattered all over the white jade lotus, and the 5 colored lights between them formed a gentian array space, trapping Zhao Daoren's puppet inside. Suppressing mountain, striking God, treading the sea, overturning the sky. The true qi in his body poured into the gentian array like a flood. Lu Ping's face was red, and his expression was ferocious. This was the first time he used all his strength to operate the gentian array. However, in the gentian space, the puppet's real body suddenly hugged the air with its hands. The pure yang flying sword that it used before was suspended in the air, with the sword tip pointing up and the sword hilt pointing down. A green sword qi suddenly extended up and down the gentian space, forming a huge sword that firmly held the gentian space. No matter how Lu Ping used the power of the gentian array to the extreme, he could not shake the giant wood formed by the sword qi. Giant wood supporting the sky. This was the giant wood supporting the sky. It was said that when Zhao Daoren opened up the East Sea's cultivation world, he used the 3 pure yang flying swords to use the giant wood supporting the sky to open up the void and then slowly stabilize the East Sea's cultivation world. Afterwards, the 3 pure yang flying swords could not bear the burden and broke. The heaven-splitting sword that Xiao Baiyu obtained was one of the 3 pure yang flying swords that supported the East Sea's cultivation world. Chapter 1551. This was a sky-opening divine power with the nature of wood. Unlike those sky-opening divine powers passed down by the 7th patriarch, This was a divine power that was truly used by Jiao Daoran to open up the world. It was truly a sky-opening divine power. Bam! Bam! A strange noise rang out, sounding like a broken string, and the void was also broken. Under the power of Taoist puppet Luo's sky-opening divine power, the 5 colored light threads, which were used to connect the 12 gentian pearls to construct the gentian space, were gradually overwhelmed, and a few of them were broken one after another. Ever since Lu Ping successfully cultivated the spirit gentian Great Formation, the gentian Great Formation had always been Lu Ping's trump card when facing enemies. In a few life-and-death battles, Lu Ping relied on this Great Formation to turn the tables, and he had almost never failed. In Lu Ping's eyes, the spirit gentian Great Formation was even more important than Emoli, the sword of true spirit. However, this spirit formation, which had worked so well in Lu Ping's hands, was about to be broken by Taoist puppet Luo's divine power. Lu Ping abruptly transformed into a stream of water, darting across the void and pouncing on Taoist puppet Luo. A sphere of flame leaped out of his palm, darting into the hazy figure of the giant tree transformed from the flying sword. The moment the towering giant tree came into contact with the fireball, the dense wood spirit chi was igniting into raging flames. The flames spread along the shadow of the giant tree, and the entire giant tree looked like a huge torch. After attaining the first level, Lu Ping decided to start cultivating the other original powers. Among them, the fire original power had only formed a complete supreme divine power in his body of true spirit. Lu Ping's innate essence was the water elemental true spirit, which naturally countered the fire elemental true spirit. Therefore, compared to the other elemental true spirits, the water elemental true spirit was also slower. If Lu Ping hadn't used the silver spirit flame as the foundation, it wouldn't have been easy for him to form this supreme divine power of fire so quickly. In fact, the second supreme divine power of fire that Lu Ping was about to form was also based on the 9-inch spirit flame. Otherwise, Lu Ping would have to use water to nourish wood, cultivate his wood origin energy to perfection in advance, and then use wood to nourish fire to cultivate a fire elemental divine art. But in this case, it would take a long time for Lu Ping to cultivate a fire elemental divine art with his own strength. The supreme divine ability that was condensed by the silver spirit flame and the fire elemental origin power made the wood elemental energy, which was supporting the giant tree to support the sky, shrink rapidly, and the predicament of the life-bonded primordial formation was alleviated. However, this supreme divine power of fire that Lu Ping took the risk to cast could only alleviate the crisis that Lu Ping was facing. It could not completely destroy this divine power of opening the sky. Lu Ping couldn't help but feel lucky. If this Taoist puppet was really Taoist Jiao's true form, then his cultivation base had already reached the peak of the 6th true spirit realm. In other words, he had cultivated all 6 of his origin to the peak. Although the Taoist puppet Luo before him could cast any divine power of any attribute, he could only unleash the power of the peak of the first level, which gave Lu Ping the opportunity to hold on for so long. But even so, Lu Ping could only force a stalemate. As a matter of fact, the Taoist puppet Luo had restrained 2 of Lu Ping's divine powers with a casual divine power. If this stalemate continued, it would be extremely disadvantageous to Lu Ping. But at this moment, Lu Ping's expression suddenly changed to one of joy. Then, he saw the power of the fire divine power condensed by the silver spirit flame suddenly soar. The giant tree transformed by the Taoist puppet Luo was once again set ablaze by the flame and consumed violently. At the same time, Lu Ping sensed that after being set ablaze by the silver spirit flame, the immense power of wood element from the giant tree was magically transformed into the original power of fire element, and a part of it was used to further enhance the power of the silver spirit flame. The other part was continuously absorbed by the true dragon in his core space. The second dragon scale of the fire divine power, which belonged to the divine power of fire element, had been glowing with a faint purple-golden light. With the help of the pure and rich original power of fire element, the glow on the dragon scale suddenly grew brighter, and a mysterious rune gradually took shape and was firmly engraved on the dragon scale. Abruptly, Lu Ping pointed a finger out. A 9-inch-long flame darted out of his fingertip, dodging Taoist puppet Luo's interception in midair as if it had a mind of its own, and landed on a branch of the giant tree, which had a 5-colored thread on it. The original power of wood element contained in this branch was quickly burned and absorbed, and the 5-colored thread returned to normal. The gentian core space was further stabilized, while the 9-inch-long flame grew fiercer and fiercer. It kept roaming around the giant tree, gradually disintegrating the divine power. At the same time, a steady stream of pure wood attribute essence was converted into fire attribute essence energy, which was injected into the true spirit dragon's body. The third fire attribute dragon scale gradually began to shimmer with faint, purplish golden light, and the third fire attribute peerless ability gradually began to form. As time went by, Lu Ping seemed to gradually gain the upper hand in the fight against Taoist puppet Luo. However, at this moment, Lu Ping was startled. Before any strange ideas flashed across his mind, the divine power wielded by Taoist puppet Luo suddenly changed. The giant tree disappeared, and the original power of wood element was easily transformed into the original power of metal element. The pure yang flying sword hovering in midair glowed with a dazzling golden light. Before Lu Ping could sigh at this man's skillful control of transforming supreme divine powers of different elements, a trace of panic flashed across his face. He saw the pure yang flying sword explode abruptly, sending dozens of broken pieces flying in all directions. Most of the 5-colored threads between the gentian pearls, which constructed the gentian core space, were cut off, and the space collapsed instantly. In the end, Lu Ping's gentian formation was broken. The white jade lotus quickly closed up, and the 12 gentian pearls shot towards the center as well. However, the Taoist puppet Luo had transformed into a gust of wind and fled at the last moment, and the white jade lotus could only gather the dozens of broken pieces of the pure yang flying sword, which were exhausted after the threads were cut off. But right at this moment, a spirit treasure arrived. While cutting the void, it also tried to cut the gust of wind in half. No, Lu Ping cried out, but it was already too late. The spirit treasure missed its target, unable to do anything to the gust of wind. The gust of wind spun and transformed back into the Taoist puppet Luo. With a wave of his hand, he froze the spirit treasure with a sheet of frost, then returned to the void where the spirit treasure had come from. Mishwansa, who was trying to help Lu Ping, was frozen in a ball of ice, along with the void. The moment Lu Ping retrieved the gentian formation, he thrust the sword of true spirit at the Taoist puppet Luo with all his strength and cried out, "Fight!" He tried to stop the Taoist puppet Luo, but he was too late. The Taoist puppet Luo easily dodged the sword of heaven opening, but to his surprise, Lu Ping made a hand seal and cried out again, "Kill!" The sword of true spirit spun in the air and turned into 9 dragons of origin, roaring towards the Taoist puppet Luo. Lu Ping, on the other hand, had already reached Mishwansa with a single step. He slammed his palm on the ice, and the bone-chilling coldness of origin even made Lu Ping shudder. The ice immediately cracked in all directions with Lu Ping's palm. A roar rang out from within the ice, and it exploded with a bang. Mishwansa had already transformed into his true spirit and charged out, but Lu Ping could tell that he was already heavily injured. Before the flying ice could fly far away, Lu Ping gathered it back together with a divine ability, then shrunk into a crystal in his palm. With a flip of his wrist, the crystal disappeared. Chapter 1552. Inside the core space, the true spirit dragon was flying excitedly. The gentian formation, which Lu Ping had put into the core space, was slowly opened. Pure and sharp metal elemental original power surged out of the formation, glinting with a dazzling light, then was absorbed by the true spirit dragon. A scale glowing with a faint purple-golden light shone brightly, and Lu Ping's third metal elemental original power was fully formed. That was not all. Immediately after that, a diamond-shaped ice crystal appeared in the core space. The frigid power contained in the crystal nearly froze Lu Ping's heart. The true spirit dragon gave another joyful roar, flying up and down around the ice crystal. Strands of ice elemental original power were extracted from the ice crystal and wrapped around a scale of the true spirit. Soon, Lu Ping had successfully formed the fourth ice elemental supreme divine power. During the fight against Taoist Puppet, Lu Ping had extracted the original power from his opponent's divine abilities. Within such a short period of time, he had successfully formed 3 original divine powers and made a great progress in his cultivation. It was already unbelievable for a true spirit cultivator to make such a strange progress, not to mention that he had done it in a dangerous place like the tunnel formation. This made Lu Ping wonder if this was a good or bad thing that had happened to him. In fact, at the moment, Lu Ping was wondering if this Zhao Daoren before him was truly a puppet, or was this a backup plan that Zhao Daoren had left behind when he created the tunnel formation? Did this only happen to him, or did the same thing happen to all his fellow Taoists? While Lu Ping was wondering, Xuanzi retracted his true spirit and landed behind Lu Ping. Seeing that Lu Ping seemed to be confronting Taoist Puppet, but in fact, his eyes were wandering and his mind was blank, Xuanzi thought that Lu Ping was shocked by Taoist Puppet's power and did not suspect anything. Xuanzi said, "Fellow Taoist, thank you for saving me. But this man is a puppet created by Zhao Daoren himself, and he has many of Zhao Daoren's divine abilities. It is understandable that you are no match for him. Now, we need to meet up with the other fellow Taoists as soon as possible. Together, we may have a chance to survive." After a moment of hesitation, Lu Ping nodded slightly. When he looked up, he saw that Taoist Puppet had suddenly turned around and disappeared into the void. Not far away, there was a burst of colorful light. Parts of the void were torn apart and repaired, and the starry chi surged in all directions like wild ocean currents. If there was an ordinary Dharma adept right now, he or she would have been turned into ashes by the aftermath of such a great battle. Green Sword Laozu and Xiao Baiyu worked together again, fighting against a female cultivator in a white veil. Blood spilled from Xiao Baiyu's mouth, and Green Sword Laozu's left arm was pierced through. He could only use his right hand to perform sword techniques. The sky-splitting sword sect and the Purple Sun Palace shared the same roots. Together, the two of them could barely resist the elusive, 3-inch-long white beam of light condensed from quintessential essence in the hands of the masked female cultivator. Right at this moment, another beam of rainbow light soared into the sky. The Patriarch of 7 Fans, who was holding the 7-feathered fan, was defeated by an even more magnificent rainbow divine ability from a female cultivator who was dressed in colorful clothes but had a dull look in her eyes. The rainbow light swept across the Patriarch of 7 Fans' terrified eyes. Amidst his horrified roars, the Patriarch of 7 Fans, who had transformed into a true spirit, could only watch as his body gradually melted, leaving only the 7-feathered fan hovering in midair and the void behind him, which had been opened by the rainbow light. The 7-feathered fan, a divine artifact that was supposed to be passed down in the sect, did not belong to anyone, but now it was with 7 Fan Laozu. At this time, Lu Ping and Xuanzi had just rushed over to help. They happened to see the 7-feathered fan floating in midair and the large void formation that was flashing with starlight behind it. This time, the passage formation had been pierced over a large area, so large that the space barrier of the passage formation did not have time to recover. Green Sword Laozu, who was being pressured by the veiled female cultivator, suddenly abandoned Xiao Baiyu beside him and rushed towards the void that had yet to recover after being pierced by the colorful light. As long as he rushed out of the passage formation before the space barrier recovered, he would be able to escape the ultimate shackles of this world. Of course, Green Sword Laozu also grabbed the 7-feathered fan in his hand. The moment Green Sword Laozu rushed towards the 7-feathered fan, Xuanzi, who was next to Lu Ping, also wanted to snatch it. However, he was blocked by Lu Ping. At the same time, he heard Lu Ping shout, "Fellow Taoist Green Sword, you must not." The path to immortality was right in front of him, and the opportunity was fleeting. How could Green Sword Laozu listen to other people's advice? Those who stopped him were just unhappy with his good luck. Holding the 7-feathered fan in his hand, Green Sword Laozu did not stop. He looked at the space barrier that was rapidly recovering but could no longer stop him. He felt an inexplicable sense of excitement. The twinkling stars were right in front of him, as if he could grab them with just a stretch of his hand. A chill immediately seeped into his body. What a comfortable feeling. Could this be the boundless starry sky? Such a vast and boundless place. But why did so many things scatter from his body and even rush into the starry sky before him? The void that was originally in the grotto heaven immediately disintegrated the moment green sword Laozu rushed over. His flesh and bones seemed to have been cut by dozens of sharp blades. The void that had yet to close up only had a faint green net that looked like a human flash. Then, it disappeared as the space barrier recovered, leaving behind a seven-feathered fan. On the side, Mi Schwanz's expression was one of terror. He cried out in shock. How could this be? Lu Ping said nothing. In truth, he did not know why this happened either. He had the same thoughts as Green Sword Laozu, but the fear in his heart had caused him to use the true eyes of the three pure ones in a self-mutilating manner. He could vaguely see that after the space barrier was broken through, there were still some things connecting, just like the colorful threads that formed after the natal gentian formation was formed. The fear in Lu Ping's heart came from this almost invisible web of threads. A white hand reached out, and the seven-colored feather fan was about to fall into the hands of another female cultivator in a colorful dress. For a moment, Lu Ping seemed to notice an almost undetectable gleam flash through the female cultivator's originally dull gaze when she looked at the seven-feathered fan. Don't even think about it. An old roar rang out, and the injured wise old ape charged out from the side. His body had already turned into a 30-meter-tall ape that was covered in blood along the way, and the numinous treasure in his hand smashed down towards the puppet Taoist. In the blink of an eye, another two true spirit cultivators had fallen before Lu Ping's eyes. Xiao Baiyu had already been forced to turn into a true spirit by the puppet Taoist, but his body was still pierced by the 3 inches of white light, and he was in danger. Between life and death, Xiao Baiyu could no longer care about the estrangement between him and Lu Ping, and shouted for help. Lu Daoyu, save me. Fellow Taoist me, please lend fellow Taoist Yuan a hand. The true spirit's sword trembled, and 9 sword dragons roared as they charged towards the puppet Taoist. Lu Ping shouted, die. Chapter 1553. Among the 3 styles of heaven-opening sword technique that Lu Ping had comprehended from the handkerchief written by Jiao Daoren for the Luan Taoist, the first style was fight, the second style was kill, and the third style was based on the previous 2 styles, which was called kill. It could be said that the third style was the true essence of this heaven-opening sword technique. The sword dragon roared as it charged out, bringing with it a thick sense of deathly stillness. As Lu Ping cast his innate water elemental skill, the deathly stillness felt as if he had sunk into the bottom of the sea, leaving behind only endless pressure and suffocation. Although the masked female cultivator was a puppet, she had the ability to adapt. At this time, Lu Ping had the upper hand and used such a powerful heaven-opening sword technique. The masked female cultivator was the real body of the 7th patriarch of heaven-opening sword technique. In a situation where she could only use the cultivation base of the first level of true spirit, she had no choice but to retreat temporarily. What Lu Ping wanted was for her to retreat temporarily. The sword of true spirit was withdrawn as soon as it was released, but the 9 sword dragons seemed to have a mind of their own as they continued to roar and pounce on the masked female cultivator. However, Lu Ping raised the pure yang flying sword again and turned it into a heavenly gate. A sword waterfall with the momentum of a thunderbolt smashed down on the female cultivator who was fighting with Wise Old Ape and Mi Schwanza. The staff spirit treasure in Wise Old Ape's hand was Ape Taoist's favorite weapon in the past. Previously, in order to stop the female cultivator's 7-feathered fan, he had almost used all his strength. With the power of the divine weapon in his hand, Wise Old Ape and Mi Schwanza's help could completely resist the female cultivator puppet in front of him for a short period of time. If the masked female cultivator who was temporarily forced back by Lu Ping could be a puppet transformed from Taoist Chan's real body, then the puppet in front of him was undoubtedly Luan Taoist's real body puppet based on its instinctive familiarity with the 7-feathered fan. At the moment when Lu Ping attacked, the female cultivator puppet had already sensed the power of Lu Ping's attack. If it was under normal circumstances, the female cultivator puppet might be able to deal with it with just her cultivation base of the first level of true spirit. However, at this time, there were two true spirit cultivators in front of her who were trying their best to restrain her, so she could only try to break free and retreat temporarily. However, as if they had a tacit understanding, Wise Old Ape and Mi Schwanza unleashed their most desperate attacks at the same time, trying their best to trap the female cultivator puppet in front of them, forcing her to face attacks from both sides. Although the female cultivator puppet in front of them could only unleash the cultivation base of the first level of true spirit, she was, after all, the real body of Luan Daoist, one of the seventh patriarch of the creator of heaven. Although the power of her divine abilities was limited, she was able to switch between all kinds of divine abilities so smoothly and swiftly that even Lu Ping could not catch up to her. It was impossible for Taoist puppet Luo to completely dodge the attacks from the three true spirit cultivators, but she still launched a divine ability at the last moment. A wave of crimson flame blocked Wise Old Ape and Mi Schwanza's attacks. After that, Taoist puppet Luo's colorful dress fluttered in the wind, as if there was a gentle breeze. However, when the breeze reached her, it turned into sharp wind blades that could cut through bones and flesh. It rolled up a handful of yellow soil condensed from the original earth power and instantly turned into a sandstorm that blotted out the sky, clashing against the river of swords descending from the sky. Within a second, Taoist puppet Luo launched three supreme divine abilities in a row. Her divine abilities were closely linked, her timing was precise, and her response was timely. Because of this, she managed to hold on under the joint attack of three true spirit cultivators, who were about the same level as her. The waterfall of swords swept away the sandstorm in midair. Taoist puppet Luo looked quite embarrassed, but Lu Ping sensed the strange vibration of the starry sky natural powers around him. The moment she fended off the attacks launched by the three true spirit cultivators, she had been preparing for a counterattack. However, this time, when she was facing Lu Ping, who could not be judged by an ordinary true spirit cultivator, she, or rather, the puppet, who was only acting on instinct, miscalculated. The waterfall of divine swords didn't fade away after dispelling priest puppet Luo's sandstorm. Instead, the moment the divine swords fell, they strangely condensed into a vast river of swords, raising tens of meters tall waves and roaring towards priest puppet Luo from behind. Unprepared, Taoist puppet Luo still managed to summon a fireball, but he was no match for Lu Ping's premeditated fatal strike. The fireball was instantly struck down by the wave of swords. The toughness of Taoist puppet Luo's true spirit body was far beyond Lu Ping's expectation, and even Lu Ping's current physical strength was far beyond his reach. However, after the wave of swords rolled up by the great river flow's east sword spell, he was surrounded by it, and the strands of sword power finally turned his tough body into a pile of ash. The true body of the Luan Daoist, one of the seventh patriarch of creation, was destroyed by him just like that? For a moment, Lu Ping could not believe it. Not only him, but Wise Ape, who was coughing so hard with his long staff, and Mi Schwanza, whose face was pale, were also in a worse state. However, Lu Ping did not have the time to sigh. The moment this trap, which they had set up at the last moment, killed the true body of the Luan Daoist, seemed to have finally angered the person hiding in the tunnel. A muffled rumble echoed through the tunnel, as if a cold snort had exploded right next to everyone's ears. After that, Lu Ping saw the masked female puppet, who he suspected to be the true body of Taoist Chan, charge into the sword formation formed by the 9 sword dragons in an extremely brutal and overbearing manner. Disregarding the damage to her physical body, she pierced through the heads of the 5 sword dragons with a 3-inch-long beam of light, instantly dissolving most of the power of Sky Splitter. Then, she leaped towards Lu Ping and the others. As the sword of true spirit was withdrawn, the wave of swords that filled the sky immediately calmed down. The vast river of swords that stretched out from the sword light also began to gradually converge back into the pure young flying sword. Then, a flickering, almost extinguished flame attached itself to one of the sword light and was withdrawn. Lu Ping was stunned. He recognized the flame as the one summoned by the puppet body of the Luan Taoist the moment it was submerged in the river of swords. With a thought, he kept the flame as well. With the help of the long staff, Wise Ape finally straightened his bent back with great difficulty. Wiping off a mouthful of blood-red saliva, he said fiercely, "Now that I've even killed the true body of the Luan Taoist, it doesn't matter if I kill another one. In this situation, it's either you or I die. Not even the seventh patriarch of Sky Splitter can stop the old man's path to immortality." Mi Schwanz's face turned paler, but he also gritted his teeth and said, "That's right." With purplish gold light swirling in his eyes, Lu Ping suddenly said, "I'll trap that 3-inch-long beam of light. Both of you go and destroy her physical body." Mi Schwanza cried out, "How is that possible? The seventh patriarch's physical body is comparable to a pure yang spirit treasure. Now that she's transformed into a puppet and has the protection of the origin Qi, other than Lu Daoyou's peerless sword art, the two of us will definitely not be able to destroy her physical body in a short period of time." With great effort, Wise Ape waved the spirit treasure in his hand and said, "Although the spirit treasure in the old man's hand is the divine weapon wielded by the ape Laozu all those years ago, the old man's strength is greatly reduced now. I'm afraid that one strike won't be able to injure her." Before the two of them could finish, Lu Ping had already turned into a stream of light and charged toward the 3-inch-long spirit treasure. He only said, "That 3-inch-long beam of light is condensed from the puppet Taoist's origin Qi. Although it's even more powerful than the heaven-splitting divine weapon of Sky Splitter in his hands, his physical body is also far weaker than the other heaven-splitting ancestral masters due to the loss of a large amount of origin Qi. You don't have to worry." Chapter 1554. Just as Lu Ping, Mi Schwanza, and the wise great ape were working together to besiege Daoist Chan's puppet body, in a remote corner of the passageway formation, a massive battle that was even more powerful than the battle between Lu Ping and Zhao Daoren had reached its climax. The number of original magical powers mastered by both sides of the battle, the power was great, and the speed of transformation was far beyond the scale of the other true spirit cultivator battles. The Longhuai ancestor's expression was solemn. His figure seemed to be faintly discernible in the void, but in reality, he was constantly changing to prevent the tall, gloomy-looking cultivator wearing a golden crown and a dark golden robe from capturing his real body and unleashing a thunderous strike. The battle between the two sides went back and forth. After the various magical powers struck each other, the light that shot into the sky brought with it brilliant colors, and the various original magical powers surged violently like fireworks in the sky. However, there was great danger hidden in these beautiful things. "I think you must be the backup left behind by that rotten snake. You're actually the transformation of the dragon locust tree. You're really extraordinary. Unfortunately, that rotten snake's years of planning has ended up benefiting someone else, and you, little fellow, have benefited. In that case, you should be thanking the old man, huh?" A sharp voice with a hint of mockery came from the cultivator with the golden crown who was fighting against the Longhuai ancestor. However, the friar looked dull and stiff. If Lu Ping was here, he would be able to detect that this voice was no different from the voice he had heard when he was fighting against Zhao Doran's real puppet body. The dozens of flickering shadows of the Longhuai ancestor in the void all had different expressions on their faces. When they spoke, even the direction of the voice was unpredictable. He said in a low voice, "It seems that your excellency is indeed Peng Daoren. However, I didn't expect your excellency to turn your physical body into a puppet. In that case, your excellency's situation is not much better." The voice came from the dumbfounded cultivator with the golden crown again. "Not bad, not bad. You're indeed the spirit bred by the dragon locust tree. If you were in the starry sky world, you'd definitely become a powerhouse in the future. Unfortunately, in this world, you've obtained the legacy of that stupid snake. In front of the old man, you no longer have a chance." The Longhuai ancestor turned a deaf ear to the voice's sarcasm and just said, It's just that I'm very curious. What exactly happened after the seventh patriarch set up this passageway formation? It actually caused the seventh patriarch to have no choice but to abandon his physical body. Since your excellency is still alive, then where are the other six Laozu? Hee, the others. Haha, in the battle of the passageway formation, since the old man has survived until now, then the others are naturally dead. The voice didn't seem to deny the Longhuai ancestors' guess about its identity. When it spoke of the other six Laozu's deaths, its tone couldn't help but carry a trace of complacency, and it strengthened the Longhuai ancestors' confirmation of its identity. So what? Since your excellency has even abandoned your physical body, then if I'm not wrong, I'm afraid your excellency is only relying on some means to linger on at death's door. Compared to the other six Laozus, you're just living a life worse than death. Haha, ignorant juniors, you are trapped in this world and are like ants looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. How would you know the vastness of the starry sky world? There are as many miraculous techniques there as the stars. Although the old man has been trapped here for over 30,000 years, he has actually been waiting for a great opportunity. Perhaps it was because he had been trapped here for tens of thousands of years and had not communicated with anyone. Or perhaps it was because victory was in his hands and he no longer had any worries. At this moment, he said impatiently, originally, the old man thought that he would need to instigate a few more Mara's calamity before he could succeed. But the chess pieces that the old man had set up back then were all wiped out by you. Previously, I thought that I would have to waste some more effort and the day of success would have to be postponed, but I never thought that you juniors would actually deliver yourselves to me. This is great. With the origin energy of a dozen or so true spirit realm cultivators, the old man will be able to escape this barrier as soon as possible. As long as the true spirit's body is reconstructed, the old man will be able to achieve the great Tao as soon as possible and enjoy immortality. All of these words revealed the secrets of this world. If this were to spread to the cultivation world, who knew what kind of uproar it would cause? The Longhuai ancestor's expression became even more gloomy, and he said coldly, "Since that's the case, why did you create this world in the first place? Since you created this world, why did you stop the beings of this world from seeking immortality? What exactly was the reason behind the tunnel formation that caused the seven of you to fight amongst yourselves, and in the end, you were the only one left in this state?" The voice mocked, "When the seven of us discovered this world, it had just been formed. In the process of helping this world to create a new world, there were naturally great benefits. However, you are a person who is about to die. Why would the old man tell you?" The Longhuai ancestor said with a cold smile, with the strength of any one of the seventh patriarch at the time of opening the sky, not to mention us 18 true spirit realm cultivators, even if 80 of us worked together, we would still not be a match for them. If you really had victory in your hands, why did you need to set up these layers of obstacles, and even let us overcome all the difficulties to come here? It can be seen that you are currently restricted a lot, and can only use various methods to wear down our strength. You are one of the seventh patriarch, and you have actually fallen to the point of deceiving your opponent with lies? The Longhuai ancestor's words seemed to have hit the nail on the head. The voice went silent after a cold snort, and after a while, it said in a deep voice, "I have to say that the 18 of you joining hands to break into the tunnel formation has indeed brought some trouble to the old man. However, if you want to reopen the tunnel formation with just you people, it is no different from a fool's dream. Whether we are overestimating ourselves or not, we can talk about it after we fight." Patriarch Long Huai held a spirit treasure in his left hand that was shaped like a tree branch. The branch was divided into 9 branches, and apart from one branch in the middle which had 9 leaves and the 2 branches at the bottom which were bare branches, the other 6 branches had at least 2 leaves on them. Like Lu Ping, Patriarch Long Huai was a true spirit realm patriarch of the Awakened Realm 9 True Spirit Realm 9, 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 Awaken Realm 9 True, Spirit Realm 9, Awaken Realm 9 True, Spirit Realm 9, Awaken Realm 9 True, Spirit Realm 9, Awakened 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 Realm 7, Awakened Realm 9 True. At this moment, the puppet suddenly made a sound of surprise, and the voice said, "I didn't expect these ants to have some tricks up their sleeves." This makes the old man even more interested. The Longhua ancestor's heart skipped a beat, but his hands didn't stop moving. The branch-shaped spirit treasure swept out, stirring up the starry sky energy in the air. At first, there were 7 beams of light, but gradually, 4 beams of light faded away. But the remaining 3 beams of light were even more dazzling and beautiful. Shockingly, the 3 supreme divine abilities were cast by the Longhua ancestor at the same time. They streaked across the air and approached the puppet master from different directions. Not bad, not bad. You can actually cast 3 supreme divine abilities of different natures at the same time with the cultivation base of the first true spirit realm. You can't control them precisely, which will waste a lot of your energy, but in terms of power, it's still commendable. The puppet master repeated Peng Doran's words, which were full of ridicule. Humph, let's break the old man's trick first. The Longhua ancestor let out a thunderous roar. The 3 divine abilities of different natures were generated by each other, and even the air was frozen. The golden crown puppet seemed to be imprisoned by the 3 divine abilities as well, and was about to be devoured by the 3 divine abilities. The voice that possessed the golden crown puppet didn't seem to care at all. It said, "Old man, you'll be back soon. If you want to die in peace, you'd better deal with what's in front of you first." As the 3 divine abilities were about to work, the Longhua ancestor was startled. He swung the spirit treasure in his hand behind him, and 2 of the 9 locust leaves on a branch in the middle flew out in a row. One transformed into the forest of fallen flowers, while the other transformed into the forest of fallen flowers. Instantly, the true body of the Longhua ancestor was shielded by the forest of fallen flowers. It was at this moment that a cold light flashed in the void. The colorful curtain of fallen flowers was cut open, and half of the trees formed by the myriad trees Sunluo fell to the ground. Finally, the power of that cold light dissipated. Without the support of the Longhua ancestor, the 3 divine abilities of different natures that tried to trap and kill the true body of the Peng Daoran puppet could not continue, and were easily resolved by the true body of the puppet. However, at this moment, the Longhua ancestor couldn't care less about the true body of the puppet behind him anymore. His eyes were fixed on the true body of the puppet that appeared after the cold light, and he said in a hoarse voice, "Jiao Doran's true spirit body?" To be able to break the 2 supreme divine abilities of the Longhua ancestor with one sword strike, who else could it be other than the sword cultivator Jiao Daoran? This puppet was the true spirit body of Jiao Daoran that fought with Lu Ping before being defeated by Lu Ping. However, at this time, there was another flying sword in his hand, and it was obviously another pure Yang-level spiritual treasure. However, there was no reply from the voice that seemed to be from Peng Daoran. It was as if the divine sense that possessed the true spirit body of Peng Daoran was really attracted by the interesting things he said before. Meanwhile, the Longhua ancestor was now facing the siege of the puppets made of the true spirit bodies of Peng Daoran and Jiao Daoran. At this moment, Xiang Laozu was staring solemnly at the puppet cultivator dressed in coarse clothes before him. Due to the same bloodline connection, Xiang Laozu showed a complicated expression. There was shock, doubt, fear, and an almost undetectable hint of joy. However, the puppet cultivator before him did not give him any extra time. In the instant that the 2 sides were locked in a stalemate, the puppet cultivator had already made the first move. The illusion of a giant tortoise rose up behind him, and it raised a foot and stomped down fiercely. Xiang Laozu felt an indescribable pressure descend from the sky, and he was about to be suppressed in one fell swoop. A ruthless look flashed across Xiang Laozu's face. With a loud roar, the illusion of a giant tortoise rose up behind him as well. As it roared, The giant tortoise pounced forward and rammed into the giant tortoise behind the puppet cultivator. Rumble. It was as if the entire passage formation was shaking. Chapter 1555. At this time, the butterfly fairy with a white veil covering her face was like a dancing butterfly, dodging the violent magical power of the burly true spirit body. A 3-inch-long blood-red light shot out in all directions. Although the butterfly fairy was at a disadvantage at this time, once the burly true spirit body revealed a flaw, the 3-inch-long blood-red light could always take the opportunity to stab and alleviate the butterfly fairy's predicament. The 3-inch-long streak of crimson light struck fear into the puppet's heart. There was a needle-like wound on its left arm, and it was clear that the giant puppet had suffered from this streak of crimson light before. Within a 3-inch radius of the needle-like wound, its arm had shriveled up, as if the wound had devoured all of the surrounding flesh and blood essence. However, the butterfly fairy was not having a good time. The puppet looked clumsy, but it was actually very agile. Moreover, the magical powers and spells it cast were unusually powerful. Although the butterfly fairy could still dodge until now, it was because she had cast the secret magical power inherited from Daoist Chan. However, this kind of magical power consumed a cultivator's true essence. It was obviously not a long-term solution. However, the puppet in front of her did not seem to be exhausted at all. Chu Fanyun no longer had the strength to resist the opponent in front of him. The middle-aged female cultivator was tall and plump, with a fierce face. Although she was a woman, she always gave people a fierce feeling. In the process of fighting with Chu Fanyun, she condensed the Starry Sky Essence Chi into a crystal hammer and smashed Chu Fanyun into a sorry state. She was in line with the legendary Taoist who of the 7th Patriarch who opened the sky. Chu Fanyun did not expect to meet this person. Although Chu Fanyun had the 3 remains of the green sea snakes left by Jiao Daoren, his cultivation temporarily reached the consummation of the first realm of true spirit after wearing them. However, this elevated cultivation was not his own strength. Compared with Long Huai, Lu Ping, Xiang Laozu, and the butterfly fairy, who had reached the consummation of the first realm by their own strength, he was still inferior. At this time, he encountered the real body puppet of Taoist who used all kinds of magical powers to fight head-on. However, Chu Fanyun did not have the magical power or secret skill to dodge like the butterfly fairy, so he could only brace himself to fight. After a few rounds, Chu Fanyun was exhausted. He was smashed away by Taoist whose hammer and was dying. Lu Ping was famous for his swordsmanship, but the characteristics of swordsmanship were more agile and unpredictable. In terms of pure swordsmanship talent, Lu Ping was actually not as good as Xiao Baiyu. However, Lu Ping's real essence was vigorous, thick, and continuous, which made his swordsmanship have a characteristic of one force to defeat 10. After the combination of the two, although his swordsmanship was not as varied as Xiao Baiyu's, he used more of his swordsmanship to suppress others. However, this time, in the face of this 3-inch spirit light that was condensed from the starry sky's Yuan Qi through his swordsmanship, Lu Ping had no choice but to use all his skills to display the variations of his swordsmanship to the extreme, trying his best to trap this spirit light within the sword light of the sword of true spirit. Aside from his swordsmanship, Lu Ping had also displayed all the various original swordsmanship that he had condensed over the years after he became a true spirit, just to block this 3-inch spirit light for a moment and create an opportunity for Xiao Baiyu and Mi Xuanzi to besiege the puppet created by Taoist Chan's real body on the other side. Back then, Taoist Chan had dominated the world with the blood-dissolving needle, and most of his swordsmanship was related to it. Now that Taoist Chan's real body was being supported by the puppet, his techniques had not changed. It was just that without the blood-dissolving needle, the puppet had used most of its essence to condense this 3-inch blood-dissolving needle. Its power was strong, and its changes were unpredictable. It still made Lu Ping tremble in the process of dealing with it. After Taoist Chan's real body puppet condensed more than half of its spiritual qi into this spiritual light needle, its other means were greatly limited due to the loss of spiritual qi. In the face of Xiao Baiyu and Mi Xuanzi's joint attack, it seemed to be in a fluster for a while and was in a difficult situation. Xiao Baiyu's cultivation base was at the late stage of the first realm. As a highly talented sword cultivator, his combat strength was only slightly weaker than a true spirit cultivator who had reached the peak of the first realm. At the moment, Lu Ping was facing Daoist Chan's puppet that was mostly occupied by Lu Ping's attention. With the sky-opening sword in his hand, Lu Ping was able to force the puppet cultivator into a corner. With Mi Xuance's support from the side, the puppet's defensive spells had long been shattered by Lu Ping's attacks. The veil on its face had also been cut by Lu Ping's sword qi, and its body was riddled with wounds caused by Lu Ping's sword qi. Pure origin qi seeped out of the wounds. The puppet had been made into a puppet, so as long as its limbs were not dismembered, it would not be affected too much for a short period of time. However, although there was no blood flowing out of the wounds, the puppet's body was filled with compressed and pure original energy. Now, the original energy was leaking out through the wounds. As time went on, the puppet would not be able to hold on any longer. The puppet seemed to understand that it was a moment of life and death. It tried its best to recall the 3-inch-long beam of light, which contained most of its essence. As long as the beam of light entered its body, its strength would skyrocket. Even if it was no match for the enemy, it would still be able to escape. At the very least, it would not be taken down one by one like this. However, Lu Ping had been entangled with the beam of light for such a long time. He had long anticipated that the Taoist of Puppet would do something like this. Therefore, he did not hesitate to consume a great deal of his inner energy. The moment he cast the art of vast seas and mulberry fields to slow down the beam of light, he commanded the Sword of True Spirit to cast a set of original metal elemental sword techniques called the Innumerable Swords to the root. First, it weaved an impenetrable net of swords in the air, then shrank. Tens of thousands of metal elemental sword beams slashed at the Taoist, sending sparks flying in all directions. Without the support of the beam of light, Taoist Chan's true form puppet strength was mostly nullified. Xiao Baiyu seized the opportunity to break the Taoist of Puppet's defensive magic again and thrust the broken heaven-splitting sword straight at her heart. No! A shrill cry came from afar. A blood-red light pierced through the air from a great distance away and shot towards the back of Xiao Baiyu's head in the blink of an eye, forcing him to pull back his sword to save himself. The moment the blood-red light flashed, even though Lu Ping was still quite a distance away from it, he suddenly felt a bone-chilling aura coming at him. Every hair on his body stood on end, and he felt as if his blood was about to seep out of his veins. What a powerful spirit treasure! Aside from the divine needle of blood, one of the heaven-splitting divine artifacts, what else could there be? A flash of sword light exploded from the blood-red light. Xiao Baiyu managed to avoid the attack, but the Taoist of Puppet also seized the opportunity to push back Mi Xuance's attack and completely escape from danger. Although Xiao Baiyu had been ambushed, he did not retaliate in anger. Instead, he looked at the rainbow light that was approaching him from afar. The flying sword in his hand trembled as he snorted coldly. What is the meaning of this, fairy butterfly? This person is only a puppet. He's no longer the heaven-splitting divine ancestor of your cicada lineage. Naturally, Xiao Baiyu knew that while the strike from the divine needle of blood seemed dangerous, the fairy butterfly had not actually used her full strength. Otherwise, with the power of the heaven-splitting divine needle of blood, Xiao Baiyu would have been heavily injured even if he managed to survive a sneak attack from the fairy butterfly, who was at the peak of the first realm. It was exactly because of this that Xiao Baiyu did not retaliate immediately after blocking the fairy butterfly's attack. When the rainbow light landed, the fairy butterfly, who still had a white veil over her face but was drenched in sweat and panting heavily, appeared to be in an extremely sorry state, saw that Taoist Chan's puppet body was still retreating. Her brows relaxed slightly, and she apologized to Xiao Baiyu. "Please forgive me, Brother Xiao. I could not help but feel anxious when I saw the true form of the cicada lineage's ancestor about to be destroyed. As a result, I've ruined your plans. I apologize." Chapter 1556. The butterfly fairy's reason clearly did not satisfy Lu Ping and the other two. Wise Ape was even angrier. What a joke. We risked our lives for this opportunity, yet you've disturbed it. Now that we've let the tiger return to the mountain, who knows, the puppet will come to kill us next. Not only Xiao Baiyu and Wise Ape, but Lu Ping and Mi Xuance's expressions were also very unpleasant. They even suspected that the butterfly fairy must have some unknown scheme. That 3-inch spiritual light has been destroyed by Lu Daoyu. The puppet transformed from my ancestor's true body must have lost a great deal of its vitality and strength. It's impossible for it to recover in a short period of time. Since it's my fault that my ancestor's true body escaped, I'll personally destroy it. What do you think? The butterfly fairy knew that she was in the wrong, and also knew that the people present did not believe her lame reason. Hence, she said in a low voice, I'm not happy with everyone. Although my ancestor's true spirit may have fallen, how could the 7th patriarch of the heaven-splitting sect not have left behind a backup plan just in case? Perhaps the layout left by my ancestor is in his true body. According to the records passed down from the cicada bloodline, these things can only be inherited by direct descendants. This is also the main reason why I stopped fellow Xiao from damaging my ancestor's true body. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. He remembered that when he fought with Jiao Doran's puppet true body, the supernatural power he cast could be strangely absorbed by Lu Ping and catalyze the condensation of Lu Ping's new original supernatural power. However, when he fought with Luan Daoist and Taoist Chan's puppet true body, such a strange change never happened again. Lu Ping's expression did not change, but he said coldly, You're lucky, fellow butterfly. Does that mean we've been too rash? The butterfly fairy was no longer as indifferent to Lu Ping as she was to Xiao Baiyu. Her expression became much more solemn as she explained, I wouldn't dare. Danger lurks everywhere in the formation. The person behind the scenes has yet to reveal himself. Now, just 7 of Lao Zu's true body puppets have caused us to suffer heavy casualties. Who knows how many more sinister methods will be used in the future, so we must not let go of any chance to increase our strength. Our strength is their weakness. Please forgive us, Lu Daoyu. Xiao Baiyu said coldly, What a nice way to say our strength is their weakness. But we've paid such a price, yet all the benefits belong to you. What benefit does that bring to us? The veil covering the butterfly fairy's face moved slightly, but no one could see her expression clearly. However, Xiao Baiyu's words had clearly displeased her as well. Her tone turned colder as she said, We're in the same boat right now, so please consider the bigger picture, fellow Taoist Xiao. Xiao Baiyu's expression grew even more furious. The sky-splitting sword circling around him seemed to have sensed its master's mood and could not help but let out a series of trembling noises. Beside him, Lu Ping reached out to block the sword and said, Please calm down, fellow Taoist Xiao. Turning his head to look in the direction where the butterfly fairy had come from, Lu Ping looked back at her with a faint smile and said, Fellow Taoist Xiao, what you said is not without reason. But if you want to obtain the legacy of Taoist Chan's true body, then that's fine. But if we let you go just like that, then do we have to help you block the puppets that are chasing after you? Xiao Baiyu was so angry that he laughed and said, Haha, fellow Taoist butterfly, you've really made a good plan. I thought you'd come as reinforcements after defeating a certain Lao Zu's puppet. I didn't expect you to be chased all the way here. Not only did you righteously rob us of our benefits, but you're also shamelessly asking us to help you block the disaster. Xiao Baiyu was not a sharp-tongued person, but now that he was enraged by the butterfly fairy's actions, his words became much harsher. Not far away, the void vibrated. Someone was flying over using spatial magic, and the direction they were heading was exactly where the butterfly fairy had come from. Clearly, what Lu Ping said was true. At this moment, even Mi Xuance, who had been silent on the side, could not help but say angrily, Fellow Taoist butterfly, you shouldn't have done this. After Mi Xuance was rescued by Lu Ping, he already knew that his strength was at the bottom of the group of true spirit cultivators. That was why he had been following Lu Ping closely, in order to fight for a chance of survival as much as possible. But when facing other true spirit cultivators, he was also very cautious, for fear of offending them. Now, even this honest man could not help but criticize angrily. It was clear that the butterfly fairy's actions were really irritating. The butterfly fairy did not expect Lu Ping to be able to discover Taoist Ape's real body puppets so quickly. When Lu Ping pointed out her plan, the four of them had inadvertently blocked her way to pursue Taoist Ape's real body puppet. Suppressing her fear of Lu Ping, she knew that she had angered the crowd, so she said directly, "I've been fighting with a giant puppet, and it seems to be Taoist Ape's real body puppet. I've already used some methods to get rid of the puppet, but I don't know why this person found me again. To avoid any misunderstandings, I'll block the pursuers head-on, but I hope you can help me. With the five of us working together, it won't be difficult to destroy Taoist Ape's real body puppet." Unexpectedly, as soon as Butterfly Fairy's voice trailed off, the wise ape said, "It's not impossible for us to help, but I'd like to ask you to tell us what kind of backup plan Daoist Chan had left behind. Since we're both the seven ancestors of creation, it's possible that the ancestor of the ape bloodline didn't leave behind a backup plan for his descendants. As you said before, if the old man is lucky enough to obtain some benefits from Ape Laozu, it will be of great help to us in breaking through the passage formation." Wise Ape's words stunned not only the butterfly fairy, but also Lu Ping and the others. But in the end, Lu Ping and the others did not say anything. They just waited for the butterfly fairy to make her choice. The butterfly fairy sighed and said, "Whether you believe it or not, I actually don't know what kind of backup plan Laozu of the heaven-splitting sect has left behind. We can only wait for the right time. These trump cards will naturally be revealed, just like the Yuan family left behind by Peng Daoren, the disaster of Mara, the dragon pagoda tree planted by Zhao Daoren, and so on. As for whether the other relics have been obtained by others, I'm afraid only the people involved will know. However, no one knows when these trump cards will be revealed, so we can only wait passively." "Your Excellency, it's so easy." Xiao Baiyu obviously did not believe the butterfly fairy's words. The butterfly fairy sighed and said, "I also know that it's hard for you to believe what I said, but it's the truth. Even I don't know what the backup plan Taoist Chan left behind is. All I can do is to break the real puppet with my own hands and see if I can obtain these relics." Wise Ape was about to say something, but Lu Ping directly interrupted him and said, "Well, if we get it, it's our fate. Taoist Ape's real puppet has arrived." Everyone looked over and saw that a vortex of yuan qi had condensed in the void. As soon as a loud roar sounded, a giant cultivator had already passed through the void and pounced on them from the vortex of yuan qi. "Be careful," the butterfly fairy shouted. With a flick of her hand, the 3-inch blood needle disappeared, leaving only a blood-red light that stirred up a nauseating smell of blood. In midair, Ape Taoist's true body puppet let out a loud roar. It seemed to be extremely afraid of the blood-transmuting divine needle. It stretched out a giant palm in front of it, and the starry sky essence chi that filled the space thousands of feet in front of it suddenly disappeared. Then, a strange power filled the area covered by the giant palm. Any magic technique that entered the area covered by this palm would accelerate the dissipation of the condensed essence chi and magic power, and its power would naturally dissipate. When Taoist Ape was alive, he was good at controlling the world's spirit veins, and his magic was naturally related to this. The puppet Taoist was able to drain the yuan qi thousands of feet in front of him with a single palm, and it could also absorb the power contained in the magic to dissolve the opponent's attack. Obviously, it was Taoist Ape's real puppet. The 3-inch blood needle could travel in and out of the void, making it impossible to guard against. However, the real puppet in front of them had broken its trail with a single palm, and it could no longer launch a sneak attack. When Wise Ape saw this, he raised the spirit treasure in his hand and smashed it at the real puppet in front of him with great force. The void shook. The area covered by the giant puppet's magic was destroyed by the power of Wise Ape's strike. The yuan qi that had been absorbed by the puppet rushed out and filled the void again. Wise Ape was not the only one who felt this blow. Lu Ping, Xiao Baiyu, and the others who were waiting to make a move were also aware that Wise Ape's strength could not be this powerful, even if the weapon he was holding was the spirit treasure that Taoist Ape had used in the past, which was equivalent to the 6 great divine weapons of splitting the heavens. Unless it was as Butterfly Fairy had said, that Taoist Ape really had a backup plan, and Wise Ape's strike had really triggered an opportunity. Chapter 1557. Wise Ape smashed down with his cudgel, but the spirit treasure in his hand suddenly vibrated. He could no longer hold on to it, and the treasure flew out of his hand with a cry of surprise. Then, a shadow of a palm flew out of Taoist Puppet's outstretched hand. The shadow of the palm shone with a dazzling light. Clearly, it was condensed from the rich starry sky origin energy. Earlier, the starry sky origin energy within a radius of several thousand feet had been sucked into the palm and formed into this shadow. However, when this shadow broke free from the puppet's hand, it did not form any powerful divine ability in the sky. Instead, it formed lines of runes on the surface of the shadow, which then crashed into the 1,000-ton cudgel that had flown out of Wise Ape's hand. With the help of the concentrated starry sky origin energy nurtured in the palm, the surface of the cudgel gradually shone with a faint light, and runes similar to the one on the shadow of the palm slowly emerged. However, when the runes turned into light and disappeared, the mighty aura of the cudgel disappeared in an instant, and it looked like an ordinary copper cudgel. However, who among the people present did not know what was good for them? They had seen or even used a heaven-splitting artifact with their own eyes. Even though the 1,000-ton cudgel's aura and pressure had disappeared, Lu Ping felt that it was even more powerful than before. What Taoist Ape left behind as a backup was not for his successor, but for the pure young supreme treasure of the Wise Great Ape clan. The treasure flew back into Wise Ape's hand, and he felt his hands become heavy, almost losing his grip on the treasure. He hurriedly circulated his internal energy to steady the treasure in his hand. Clearly, Taoist Puppet did not know that one of the divine abilities of his real body had been stripped away by a backup plan left behind by its original owner. After the divine ability was broken for no reason, the giant puppet took another step forward, clenched his fists, and punched the void under his feet. Butterfly Fairy seemed to have seen this kind of magical power before. Her reaction was abnormally fast. Her whole person was like a dancing butterfly. She didn't use any force in the void, and she could even easily avoid the void vibration caused by the space magical power. As for Lu Ping and the others, they felt the instant the giant puppet's fists came crashing down. The entire space began to tremble violently. This trembling directly obliterated the possibility of everyone using spatial abilities, and it even began to unnoticeably restrict everyone's movement. The moment the giant puppet's fists smashed down, it took advantage of the moment when everyone's movements were restricted to pounce towards them again. This time, it directly rushed towards Lu Ping. Lu Ping secretly cursed his bad luck. Behind him, a purple mist rose from the east, and a purple-gold true spirit dragon appeared and disappeared in the mist. A dragon roar came from the purple mist, and the spatial confinement power caused by the vibration of the surrounding void was instantly dispelled. A true spirit sword in Lu Ping's hand swept up a wave of sword energy towards the giant puppet, while light flashed under his feet, trying to avoid the puppet's frontal attack. The giant puppet was indeed brave. It didn't even try to dodge Lu Ping's sword attacks. Instead, it charged head-on into Lu Ping's sword waves with its sturdy body. Although the giant puppet suffered dozens of cuts on its body, they were all superficial wounds. Instead, the giant puppet's sword waves were scattered and scattered. However, Lu Ping's counterattack still gave the others an opportunity. After Xiao Baiyu broke free from the spatial restraints, he threw out a beam of light from the sky-breaking sword, which mixed with Lu Ping's sword energy and pierced through the puppet's palm. Although the sword energy's momentum weakened after piercing through the puppet's palm, it still shot toward the puppet's throat. However, the puppet let out a loud roar and slapped the sword energy away with a backhand. But at this moment, another imperceptible beam of bright red light took advantage of the moment when the puppet's attention was attracted by the sword energy and shot toward it like a bolt of lightning. By the time the puppet realized it, it only had time to tilt its head, dodging the attack between its eyebrows. However, its left eye was still hit by the beam of blood light. The puppet let out a miserable howl, then swiped its right palm at its left eye. A beam of blood light, along with a huge eyeball, was flung away. Just then, Lu Ping dodged the giant puppet's attack and was about to launch another counterattack. But suddenly, Daoist Chan's real puppet, which had fled earlier, suddenly appeared over 1,000 feet behind him. With a shake of its arms, Daoist Chan's robe seemed to turn into a pair of wings as thin as a cicada's. The wings flapped rapidly, leaving only 2 afterimages in the air. Lu Ping cursed inwardly. Then, he felt a strange force seeping into his divine sense, trying to disintegrate it. The puppet had lost most of its strength when it was besieged by Lu Ping and the others, but the power of this strange magic was not affected too much by its own injuries. This sneak attack was an excellent opportunity. Lu Ping had no choice but to retreat in the face of Daoist Ape's real puppet's attack. After launching a counterattack with his swordsmanship magic, he was running low on real essence. However, Daoist Chan's real puppet had underestimated Lu Ping's strength, especially his attainments in the divine sense, which far exceeded that of cultivators of the same level. Enduring the severe pain in his head, Lu Ping performed a seal with both hands and cast out a wood elemental origin magic that he had just condensed in his real spirit. Daoist Chan's real puppet, which was over 1,000 feet away, seemed to have sensed something. It screamed and turned to flee. But the moment it turned, the void around it suddenly cracked open. 7 or 8 vines, condensed from the wood elemental origin, wove into a huge net. Daoist Chan's real puppet crashed into the net and was caught. Lu Ping knew that this magic might not be enough to capture the puppet's real body. So, the moment he cast it, Lu Ping had already prepared his next magic to kill the puppet in one fell swoop. Unexpectedly, the butterfly fairy had already given up on Daoist Ape's real body. She took the opportunity to fly past the puppet's real body. She tore the gauze robe off the puppet's body, which was trapped by Lu Ping, and draped it over herself. At the same time, she wrapped her arms tightly around the puppet's real body, lifted the gauze covering her face, and bit down on the puppet's neck. No blood seeped out, but Lu Ping could see that the butterfly fairy was gulping something down her throat. At the same time, Lu Ping could keenly sense that the butterfly fairy's aura was slowly growing, while the puppet's real body was gradually withering. Layers of ashes began to peel off the puppet's real body. At that moment, the battle with Daoist Ape's real body puppet was coming to an end. Just as one of its eyes was blinded by the blood-dissipating needle, a burst of scattered light suddenly swarmed toward the puppet's side. The puppet, which had lost its left eye, was not used to this. It tried its best to turn around and see what was going on, but it did not notice that Mishwansa, who had attracted its attention, was Wise Ape, whose face had turned redder than his buttocks. Only then did Wise Ape raise his 1,000-pound stick spiritual treasure high up in the air and smash it down hard. Wherever the stick passed, the void twisted and shattered. The giant puppet was indeed made from Daoist Ape's real body. Although it was besieged by Lu Ping and the other 4 celestial spirit cultivators, including Lu Ping and the butterfly fairy, who were at the peak of the first realm, it still sensed the danger the moment Wise Ape's spiritual treasure smashed down. When Mishwansa's magical power was easily broken, the giant puppet managed to avoid being hit in a critical moment. However, under the joint attack of everyone, it was extremely difficult for the giant puppet to completely avoid Wise Ape's long-planned attack. Crack! The spiritual treasure smashed into the shoulder of Daoist Ape's real body puppet. The bones in half of the shoulder were smashed to pieces, and one of its arms was basically crippled. However, the giant puppet was still fighting fiercely. Its physical strength left Lu Ping and the others speechless. However, a complete puppet was no match for Lu Ping and the other 4 celestial spirit cultivators. Now that the puppet's strength was greatly damaged, how could it last for too long? Just as Wise Ape smashed down with his staff, Lu Ping's sword of real spirit turned into a flash of lightning as he displayed the thunderclap sword technique to the extreme. Countless electric snakes swam back and forth on the puppet's body, causing it to tremble all over and find it difficult to move. On the other side, Xiao Baiyu and the others took the opportunity to attack. Hundreds of sword shadows from the sky splitting sword slashed at the same wound at the same time, cutting off half of the giant puppet's neck in one fell swoop. Wise Ape smashed down again with his staff. This time, he did not miss. Half of the puppet's head was smashed, but the puppet swayed but did not fall. When the blood-dissipating needle pierced through its heart, the puppet's real body began to turn into ashes from the wound. When Taoist Ape's real body began to turn into ashes, the ashes curled up in the air and merged with the ashes of Taoist Ape's real body puppet. They flew in a direction in the passageway formation. Butterfly Fairy snorted softly and suddenly turned into a green light, chasing after the ashes into the depths of the passageway formation. Xiao Baiyu immediately understood and said, "Hurry up and follow her." With that, the sky-splitting sword turned into a stream of light and carried Xiao Baiyu to chase after Butterfly Fairy. Wise Ape glanced at Lu Ping and said, "Old man is going too." With the 1,000-pound staff in his hand, he smashed it forward. It was as if he had pierced through layers of space and disappeared into the depths of the passageway formation. Mi Xuanzi looked in the direction where the three of them left, and then at Lu Ping, who was hovering in the air in silence. He thought about it and decided to stay. He could not help but ask, "Lu Daoyu, aren't you going to take a look?" A cloud of mist surged around Lu Ping as he smiled and said, "I'm going to find someone first to verify if my guess is right or wrong." Mi Xuanzi used his flying divine art to chase after Lu Ping and asked curiously, "Who is it?" Lu Ping smiled and said, "Zhao Doran's real body puppet." Mi Xuanzi recalled how he almost died in Zhao Doran's hands and could not help but feel a lingering fear. He asked in shock, "Him? Why are you looking for him, fellow Taoist? Do you know where he is?" Lu Ping grinned and said, "If I'm not wrong, then the puppet is fighting Senior Long Huai right now, right?" Even though the Longhuai ancestor could also use other divine abilities to counter them, the number of divine abilities that the Longhuai ancestor knew and the mastery of the divine abilities were clearly inferior. In this way, even though the might of Patriarch Longhuai's divine abilities and true essence reserves weren't inferior to the two true body puppets, he was repeatedly countered during the battle. If it wasn't for him relying on the true spirit body that Patriarch Longhuai had cultivated for over 10,000 years, then the situation wouldn't just be in a sorry state. Wood elemental, water elemental, ice elemental, wind elemental, and earth elemental. While these thoughts flashed across Lu Ping's mind, Patriarch Longhuai had already cast out 13 kinds of supreme innate skills in his battle against the two puppets. These skills covered 5 of the 7 innate attributes, and he was only missing the innate skills of the metal and fire attributes, especially the fire origin divine abilities. If it was the metal origin divine ability, it was possible that the Longhuai ancestor had not used it on purpose. However, for the fire origin divine ability, Lu Ping was certain that the Longhuai ancestor had not cultivated it, unless the Longhuai ancestor had a Samling 5-element leaf and knew how to refine the origin leaf spirit pill. Most of the creatures in this world were created by the 7th Patriarch, so most of the creatures' bloodlines were a mixture of the 7th Patriarch's bloodlines. Because of this, there were a few bloodlines of the 7th Patriarch that had innate flaws. Just like the fire-attributed Flood Dragon bloodline, Taoist Jiao's cultivation had reached the 6th level of the true spirit realm. Out of the 7 great original attributes, he had not cultivated the fire-attributed origin ability. As for the creatures in this world, once they awakened the fire-attributed Flood Dragon bloodline and started cultivating, they would never have the hope of becoming a true spirit. It was also like the Yuan family. Although Peng Daoran had cultivated to the 7th true spirit realm and had even opened the 8th Thunder Origin divine ability, it was clear that Peng Doran's Thunder Origin divine ability had not reached perfection. Although the Yuan family was known as the number 1 family in the world after opening the heavens, the truth was that the cultivators of the Yuan family had only reached the pure Yang realm at most. In the 30,000 years since the heavens were opened, no one had reached the true spirit realm. Even if one reached the true spirit with the other attributes of the Flood Dragon bloodline, they could still cultivate the other 5 attributes besides the fire origin divine ability. However, it was extremely difficult to open all 5 types of origin divine abilities at the same time. Other than being like the Longhua ancestor who had accumulated enough experience over the years, it was also possible to rely on external forces such as starry sky, spiritual objects to lay the foundation. However, even with starry sky spiritual objects, most people could not make up for the innate flaws of the bloodline. Unless it was a top-notch starry sky spiritual object like the Samling 5 Elements leaf, it could make up for the innate flaws of the bloodline. Not only could it help the cultivator awaken the other attributes, it could also make up for the innate flaws of the bloodline. Although the cultivation of Lu Ping's origin divine ability after awakening the fire origin divine ability was extremely slow compared to the other attributes, once the 7 major attributes were awakened, his starting point was already much higher than other cultivators. Leaving aside the thought of verifying each other's strength in Lu Ping's mind, Mi Xuanzi, who was watching the battle between the two sides, was already stunned. Originally, in his opinion, Lu Ping's strength was already shocking. However, at this time, when he saw the Longhua ancestor single-handedly fighting the joint forces of Zhao Daoren and Peng Daoren, it was simply shocking. Fortunately, he was a true spirit cultivator after all. To be able to come this far as a rogue cultivator, his mind and willpower were not bad. After a while, he let out a long sigh and said with a deep weariness in his tone, "Peng, Jiao, Luan, Cicada, and Ape, 5 of the 7 sky splitter Laozu's real bodies have appeared." So, the Longhua ancestor's previous guess that the mastermind was Peng Daoren was wrong. The mastermind should be either Taoist Gue or Taoist Hu, or both. Lu Ping was slightly taken aback, as if his previous guess was slightly shaken. He said hesitantly, "Perhaps, but the matter with the Yuan clan does not make sense. The only one who could leave behind the thunder attribute bloodline is Peng Daoren. The Yuan clan has been secretly manipulating the Mara calamity ever since the sky was opened. If that Peng Daoren's soul is really destroyed, what meaning is there for the Yuan clan to do this?" Mi Xuanzi clearly did not know how to explain this, so he simply asked, "Lu Daoyu, what should we do now? Should we help?" Lu Ping shook the pure yang flying sword in his hand and smiled. "Of course. Otherwise, fellow Long Huai will probably think that we have other plans." When the two of them approached each other, Lu Ping already knew that the Longhua ancestor had discovered their arrival. If the two of them did not attack immediately because they wanted to understand their opponent's strength, then if they did not attack or leave after a long time, the Longhua ancestor would probably suspect their intentions. Back then, Lu Ping had tried his best to help them as soon as possible. Apart from this reason, there was another reason that was not known to outsiders. He wanted to confirm whether the 3 ultimate abilities that he had inherited from Zhao Daoren were something that Zhao Daoren had deliberately left behind when he was still alive. When he was watching the battle from the side, Lu Ping had noticed that Zhao Daoren had never used the 3 ultimate abilities, the giant wood supporting the heavens, the heaven-shattering sword, or the void freeze. He had used these 3 abilities one after another when he fought Lu Ping. However, these 3 abilities had turned into the essence of origin that Lu Ping had absorbed in the end, forming his own ultimate abilities of 3 different attributes. Among them, the giant wood supporting the heavens had been converted into the most difficult fire attribute ultimate ability to cultivate by Lu Ping using wood to generate fire. Although it was possible that Zhao Daoren had not used it in the battle with Longhua ancestor, Lu Ping was more willing to believe that this was the legacy that Zhao Daoren had left behind for the bloodline cultivators. He had infused his own ultimate ability into the bloodline cultivators, causing them to form a brand new ultimate ability. This was also the reason why Zhao Daoren's true body puppet had turned to look for Longhua ancestor after it was repelled by Lu Ping. In that case, Lu Ping could only help as soon as possible. If Lu Ping's guess was right, Longhua ancestor should be qualified to inherit Zhao Daoren's legacy. In fact, in Lu Ping's view, Longhua ancestor was the real person that Zhao Daoren had left behind. Lu Ping was more like a variable that had appeared halfway. This was also the reason why Zhao Daoren's true body puppet had turned around to attack Longhua ancestor after it was repelled by Lu Ping. The sword of true spirit transformed into a surging river of swords that gave rise to monstrous waves of swords, and they carried a peerless, imposing aura as they charged mightily into the battle. They separated Zhao Daoren from the battle in one go, and then the waves of swords spun in midair before forming an encirclement towards Zhao Daoren. Lu Ping roared with laughter as he said, "Senior Long Huai, Junior will lend you a hand." Without Zhao Daoren obstructing him from the side, Long Huai Ancestor's attack surged, and it instantly launched a counterattack to form a situation of mutual attack and defense with Peng Doran's true body puppet. However, Long Huai Ancestor shouted loudly, "Lu Xiaoyu, the old man has a method to deal with Zhao Doran's true body puppet." Unfortunately, he was besieged by two puppets earlier and was unable to execute it. Now that little friend is assisting us, let's swap our opponents. You resist Peng Doran's true body puppet while the old man deals with Zhao Doran's true body puppet. How about it? Long Huai Ancestor's words made Lu Ping's initial speculation settle down, and he was naturally even more unwilling to give up Zhao Doran's true body puppet. However, he laughed loudly and said, "Senior, rest assured, I can still resist Zhao Doran's true body puppet, but Peng Doran is the strongest powerhouse who opened up the heavens. I'm afraid I'm not strong enough, so I believe only Senior can fight him." Long Huai Ancestor said helplessly, "Although the old man can fight him, I don't have the confidence to defeat him. Are we going to be in a stalemate like this?" "Senior, rest assured, I'll lend you a hand." As soon as old ancestor Long Huai's voice fell, a loud roar rumbled over. Mi Xuanzi rushed over on a streak of light to assist him. Old ancestor Long Huai's expression changed, and he wanted nothing more than to tear this person into pieces. Chapter 1559. In the instant that Long Huai ancestor used such a lame reason to exchange opponents with him, Lu Ping was even more certain of his guess. He naturally ignored his request and focused on the battle with Zhao Doran's real body puppet. As the battle between the two became more vicious and the range of their remarkable abilities became wider, the battle became further and further away from Long Huai ancestor. During the battle with Peng Doran's real body puppet, Long Huai ancestor could not help but glance in Lu Ping's direction. His gaze towards Lu Ping was flickering with a dangerous cold light, but he eventually suppressed it and calmed down. Under the attacks of Peng Doran's real body puppet and the shouts of Mi Xuanzi, he had no choice but to focus on the opponent in front of him. The bloodline of human cultivators was the most chaotic, so it was impossible for him to discover Zhao Doran's secret. If Chu Fanyan were to fight with Zhao Doran's real body puppet, there was a 30 to 20% chance that he would discover the legacy left behind by Zhao Daoren. Long Huai ancestor snorted coldly. Moreover, Zhao Doran's remarkable ability was not something that could be obtained just because one wanted to. From the memories that he had inherited, to obtain the remarkable ability of the real body, not only did he need to have an absolutely pure bloodline, he also needed to completely crack the remarkable ability cast by Zhao Doran's real body during the battle. In the process of fighting with Zhao Daoren, he had only completely cracked one remarkable ability, which allowed him to obtain the original remarkable ability. Of course, this was also because Peng Daoren was holding him back from the side. From this, it could be seen that even if one had a pure flood dragon bloodline, without sufficient strength, it was still wishful thinking to want to inherit the original remarkable ability from Zhao Doran's real body puppet. In this way, even if Chu Fanyan had a pure flood dragon bloodline, he would not be able to completely crack the real remarkable ability of the real body puppet with his cultivation base that had yet to reach the perfected first realm. Therefore, Long Huai ancestor was not worried that Lu Ping would be able to snatch Zhao Doran's legacy. As for completely shattering Zhao Doran's real body puppet, Long Huai ancestor did not believe that Lu Ping could have such strength. Long Huai ancestor, who had fought with Zhao Daoren before, was very clear about the strength of the real body puppet. However, what he did not know was that Lu Ping had encountered Zhao Doran's real body puppet before. In the process of the two sides fighting, Lu Ping had cracked the three original remarkable abilities of Zhao Daoren in one fell swoop. Moreover, after the three original remarkable abilities were cracked, they turned into pure starry sky essence and were injected into Lu Ping's real body. Then, according to the plan that Lu Ping had made for his own magical ability, he condensed 3 magical ability seeds of different attributes. Perhaps it originated from the soaring dragon galaxy technique that Lu Ping cultivated, or perhaps it originated from the soul of the world where he regarded himself as the descendant of the dragon. Or perhaps his soul that did not originally belong to this world had a complete memory of the divine dragon form. In the process of Lu Ping's cultivation, his bloodline had undergone 9 fusion mutations. This made Lu Ping's bloodline far purer than Longhui ancestor had imagined, and even the real body he created was completely based on the dragon form that he had identified. Although Lu Ping did not have the inherited memory left behind by Jiao Daoren like Longhui ancestor, Lu Ping had a rough guess about this after continuously harvesting the pure essence qi that was enough to condense 3 original remarkable abilities. This time, when he fought against Jiao Daoren's real body puppet again, Lu Ping was much more at ease. This was because under the situation where their cultivation bases were similar, even though the number of original remarkable abilities that Jiao Daoren mastered was still far greater than Lu Ping's, Lu Ping had grasped a fatal weakness of Jiao Daoren. In other words, Lu Ping himself had an advantage that Jiao Daoren's real body puppet did not have. Therefore, from the beginning of the battle, Lu Ping did not fully devote himself to fighting against Jiao Daoren. Instead, he rapidly switched between the original remarkable abilities of different attributes in an attempt to restrain his opponent's means. Previously, when Lu Ping was able to break Jiao Daoren's 3 remarkable abilities and turn them into his own original remarkable ability, it was because Lu Ping had risked his life to obtain them. In fact, in the scene at that time, when Jiao Daoren's real body puppet launched a sneak attack, it immediately used a killing move in an attempt to kill Lu Ping in one blow. Although Lu Ping was lucky enough to escape in the end, he had brushed shoulders with death several times. In particular, when the natal gentian formation was broken by Jiao Daoren, he was still scared even now. Now that he was fighting Jiao Daoren's real body puppet again, Lu Ping naturally wouldn't choose to risk his life. Instead, he needed to calmly make arrangements and do his best to minimize the risk of inheriting the divine ability origin. In the beginning, Lu Ping was at a disadvantage in front of Jiao Daoren's real body puppet. Often, the moment he used his remarkable ability, Jiao Daoren had already switched to his original remarkable ability. For Lu Ping, who was always a step slower in switching between different attributes, he was naturally at a disadvantage. In fact, the situation was even worse than the first time they fought. Not long after, Lu Ping's remarkable ability had been broken several times. The aftermath affected his protective remarkable ability. Even though Lu Ping had tried his best to resist, his protective remarkable ability was still broken several times, causing him to suffer several injuries. However, Lu Ping remained calm and tried his best to keep up with the changes in Jiao Daoren's divine ability. He was waiting for the moment he had been planning for a long time to arrive. Soon, Lu Ping found the right opportunity. While defending against Jiao Daoren's attack, he used the Myriad Woods forest to protect himself. Jiao Daoren casually switched his divine ability, and the pure yang flying sword in his hand slashed in the void. The surrounding metal attribute origin qi condensed into a sky full of golden sword flashes, which flew towards Lu Ping's protective remarkable ability. Lu Ping, who was already prepared, waved both his hands, and 2 flames appeared in his palms. One was a silver spirit flame, and the other was a 9-inch spirit flame. At the heart of the 2 spirit flames were 2 divine ability seeds that looked like scales. Lu Ping only had 2 fire attribute origin divine abilities, and one of them was thanks to the natal gentian array that he had used to break Jiao Daoren's giant, with supporting the heaven's divine ability. The flames soared into the sky, and the dense wood attribute origin essence was deliberately ignited. The Myriad Woods forest instantly turned into an azura fire field, engulfing the countless sword flashes formed by Jiao Daoren's metal attribute divine ability. However, the process of Lu Ping's calculation was not wrong. He used the wood attribute origin divine ability to lure the opponent to use the metal attribute divine ability to break it, and then used the fire attribute divine ability to make use of the wood attribute origin qi to restrain the opponent's metal attribute origin divine ability. However, he still underestimated the power of Jiao Daoren's remarkable ability. The sky full of sword flashes flew over, and the seemingly boundless sea of fire in the forest instantly collapsed. Lu Ping secretly smacked his lips at the power of this remarkable ability. The myriad woods forest that he had cast was just a disguise to make use of the wood attribute origin chi. The real trump card was the two fire attribute origin divine abilities. Otherwise, Zhao Doran's remarkable ability would be enough to make him suffer. As the sea of fire continued to engulf the countless golden sword flashes, Lu Ping simply shook his sleeves, and a gust of wind swept over. The fire became even more intense, and the golden sword flashes were completely engulfed by the sea of fire. Sure enough, as Lu Ping's face lit up with joy, a rich metal elemental yuan qi gathered around him from all directions in the sea of fire. Within the rising purple gas behind Lu Ping, the true spirit dragon opened its mouth and swallowed this metal origin essence into its stomach. Then, in the perception of Lu Ping's spiritual force, the purple-gold light on the fourth dragon scale of the metal origin became even more intense. Lu Ping's heart moved. This time, he did not condense the divine ability seed according to the supreme remarkable ability that he had collected. Instead, he allowed the metal origin chi to condense on its own. Complicated runes that were extremely familiar to Lu Ping gradually formed on the dragon scale. Although Lu Ping did not know what kind of remarkable ability this divine ability seed nurtured, this style of runes was exactly the same as the dragon scale that Lu Ping had inscribed with the 9 origin chi formations. Clearly, they were made by the same person. The moment the divine ability seed was condensed, Lu Ping already knew the details and power of this remarkable ability. Wherever the remarkable ability was, 10,000 swords would be unleashed at the same time. So it was called the Myriad Sword Art. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.